Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to our Game of Thrones Song of Ice and Fire role-playing tabletop campaign, After the Fire. I am here with four lovely people who... Oh, hello, Don's on here twice, because apparently... apparently there was a Zoom thing that's gone wrong on my end. Let's move you up a bit.
We need to do it one more time, and then he'd be Don, Don, Don.
Don, Don.
Sorry, I'll leave.
Here a week. All right, Don, you're just one person now. That's fine. We've not got to look at you. And we are here for not the, but one of our penultimate episodes of the campaign, I am sure. We are here for a battle episode, but we're going to focus in on the people involved with this particular fight, because we've got a lot going on. Let's go around, have a chat, and see how people are doing, how you're ready, and all that kind of stuff. Tom is actually my first victim on the overlay. How are you doing, friend?
I don't like how you said victim there.
You've been here long enough. You should know.
That is true. I'm not too bad, thank you. I'm not too bad. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time. And as we are creeping ever closer to the end of the series, it just made me remember of all the horrific things you've done to us, Sam, and know that I wouldn't change it for anything, you know? We're here for the pain, the juice, the dramas, all that jazz.
Good.
But apart from that, I've just been working, hanging out, you know. That's about it, really.
Have you been caught in the wind?
I have. Actually, yes. We've had the strangest weather here. Like, it's just been crazy. Like, we've had all weather. We've had bright sunshine, gale force winds, hail, sleet, thunderstorms. We've had everything. And this happened within like 1 hour of just 1 hour of all of that.
We had that.
It's weird, isn't it? It's just really strange. And you're just kind of like, where's the drizzle that we normally have? You know? But yeah. It's been all right. It was cold, though. Very cold out there.
You mentioned there might be a chance you start streaming again.
Yeah, maybe. I don't. Honestly, I don't know. The problem is trying to get into the mood. So the problem I have is that when I get home from work, I'm so tired. All I want to do is vegetate and play something so easy and so mind-numbingly kind of that I'm not being.
So you play Elden Ring, right?
I play Elden Ring. That's it. But maybe it depends. I did one after I heard that Monkey Island was getting another game, and I'm a big fan of Monkey Island. I loved it. It was like almost my introduction to gaming. That was back on the Amiga. I thought, wouldn't it be good is to live stream Monkey Island 1 and 2 just into that, going into the game. So I might do that closer to the release date, and I might play another game. Who knows? It depends on my mood. It all greatly depends on my mood.
Nice.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll definitely watch if you do. Nice. All right. Cool. Well, I hope all of your little 6-year-olds with their little theatre flats are ready to bring you in on your little boat.
Me too.
Have to see how it all goes down. And Millie, it's been a
hi.
little while. How you been doing?
Hello. I'm good. I'm a little bit sleepy today, but I'm very, very good. I'm really excited to see how this goes down, because nothing bad happened at all during the last battle episode, and I'm sure it'll be exactly the same. Looking forward to seeing if Enso Sal can run in both directions.
To you and back again.
Yeah, how is he at evasion?
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
But yeah, I don't think she's in any danger at all. I think everything's fine. Mm-hmm.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah. I've made peace.
You've been streaming loads, right?
No, I've been playing loads. I haven't been streaming at all because I'm an idiot. And also my brain was like, you don't know the controls. It's hard enough to stream when you're just talking, let alone doing things. I don't get to focus on two things at once, unfortunately. Thanks, brain. So
You've been playing in other streams, right? You're still playing on stuff?
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of tabletop shows and doing a lot of wild RP, but hopefully I have a new camera, which is true to form. Got it a couple of weeks ago. I haven't set it up yet. It's just sat in a box. So hopefully over the weekend I'll get that set up and maybe I'll be streaming some stuff. I'm not going to say when because I'll say next week and then next week I'll turn up and people go, why? So
Oh, teasers, absolute teasers.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Good. And V, someone else who isn't streaming but should.
Yeah.
What is this guilt trip?
I
Oh,
really want to get back
Yeah,
to
I'm doing
streaming. I really want to get back to streaming, but I've been doing a lot of work and my brain this week has been like not wanting to function. So
That's fair.
I can have one of the two things at the moment and work is the thing I choose. But yeah, no, things have been good aside from trying to make my brain do things. I just launched my Ravenloft campaign that I've been meaning to do for like 2 months. So that's exciting.
Where can people find that? Come on, be a good promoter.
If you just reach out to me on Discord or Twitter, because the Ko-Fi's not up yet, because otherwise I know someone will click a thing and be like, I don't know what I've just paid money for. So if you want in on a Ravenloft game through Ko-Fi, DM me, I guess. I think my DMs are open on Twitter. So
Cool.
yeah.
Okay.
I murdered one of my players on Tuesday in my roleplay Haven game. Disintegrated them with the big bad.
You mean their
You actually-
characters or the actual player?
I mean, if I told you that, I'd have to tell you where I put the ashes, Millie, and that becomes a legal issue.
Right, yeah, I don't want to know.
Plausible
I haven't got
deniability,
time
Millie.
for that paperwork, yeah.
Yeah, so that's fun. It's the first time I've ever just outright killed a player with 81 force damage. It was pretty nasty.
Nice.
Yeah, they do now have 2 pet dire pugs, though. I don't know how they keep getting away with this, but
I'm sensing a theme in your games.
yeah. Well, I managed to turn the sock puppet against them, so
Okay.
the sock puppet is now a symbiote for the paladin, making him make even more terrible life decisions than he was making before. But
Okay.
this is yeah, this is what happens in my roleplay Haven games.
Okay.
Things get out of control.
No worries. Okay. Well, good luck today as well, I guess.
Now I'm suspicious, Sam.
Hey, I'm not doing anything, but these chocofox are all about to like muck the whole
We're
thing up
messy
for you.
bitches.
Yeah. Okay.
This is our own making.
Yes, she.
I said we. I said we. That included me.
We
Millie.
are all messy bitches here. Thank you.
Just change the channel name. Yeah.
Ooh.
Maybe. Oh, maybe. Susie,
But
quick,
what-
write that down.
But what if?
In brackets after follow black cats.
Yeah.
The messy bitches.
Susie's like, I'm not in chat. Okay. Okay, well, speaking of messy bitches, Samwell's gorgeous player, Don. Hello, friend.
Hello. Thank you. That's the nicest thing anybody's ever said about me. I'm excited for today. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. Samuel's only had one previous battle in this campaign, and to say that it wasn't as much of a battle as a terrible wildfire trap would be pretty accurate. So I'm looking forward to this. However it plays out, I've really enjoyed everything that's led up to this moment, and I'm ready to be messy.
Good. Awesome. Well, we recently finished our Dark Sun campaign, your
Yeah.
Patreon campaign.
Yeah, it was awesome. So this is like Dark Sun, that campaign. It's kind of like, multiple campaigns put together, but over the last few years, I've had 20 different players. It's like 103 sessions, which is like over 400 hours of Dark Sun.
Yeah.
It was pretty epic, and I loved how it ended. You survived. I tried, I really came out swinging, but
Yeah,
but
you really
high
did.
level D&D characters, you guys were smart. You played together. It's a really, really cool story, and I love the epilogues too. You got to
That was
kind of
so
end on a
cool.
moment with your character that I loved.
Yeah, that was so cool. Awesome. Well, hopefully we can do that for everyone's characters here in the next few sessions of this. But yeah, as for us, follow Black Cats, or Messy Bitches as it's still henceforth be known. We played some Hexcrawl again yesterday, and last week when I wasn't here, Susie did a charity stream for us as well for Roll versus Evil, which is a kind of new tabletop charity that is at the moment helping Ukraine refugees and people fleeing the country. So yeah. Thank you if you donated, and stick with us on the Wednesdays if you fancy a bit of the Spy game, which is the game we made behind me. So a little bit of promo there you go. But we are here to play our After the Fire campaign. So let's get into what is Season 6, Episode 14, The Battle for the Reach. And let me get this right. The morning of the battle, Faye, when you wake, perhaps begin to dress and ask for some breakfast from the guards posted outside, you notice a single piece of parchment folded up and left on a side table.
She'd go straight over and pick it up and look around to see if there's anybody nearby or anybody watching. And then if the coast's clear, she'd read it.
Mm-hmm. There are no obvious signs of people peering in. You're in your own tent at this point, so there's.
That's creepier. That's worse.
It's a very private space, and you don't see anyone kind of glaring in through the gap in the folds of the tent or anything like that. So you open it, and this is the message that you are greeted with. We could not remain children forever. With all the love I still bear you, run. You need to be gone before this battle ends. Enzo was right.
Interesting. Oh. Could you put that in chat for me?
I'll put it in our Letters from Ravens in our Discord. What do you do with that information?
She would fold it up, put it in her pocket, and leave the tent instantly.
Mm-hmm. So that morning, where are you heading? What's the intention here?
She's looking for Samuel.
Okay.
Not necessarily to have a conversation, but to see where he is.
Mm-hmm. Make me a fairly simple... It could be awareness notice if you want to look around yourself. It could even be maybe a status check if you want to use some of the garrison, the guards here to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, I think so. That's the morning of a battle. I think she could use status, probably.
Okay. I'm going to give you
regular status.
Status. Let's have a look. Just getting back into the swing of things now that we've been off for a couple of weeks. Status. Reputation, I think. As this is kind of you being yourself and trying to use your presence to get people to kind of point you in the right direction. I'm going to give you a penalty dice at this point, just because of the recent events that you've had with the Tarleys.
11 with 1 6.
Is that with the penalty dice as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So some garrison guards, some of the support infantry point you towards a mustering point, a large kind of glade where a lot of the soldiers are gathering. And on the edge of the glade, you're able to kind of creep up to just the edge of it, around the trees and the bushes. And, you know, you don't have to hide necessarily, but it gives you a nice kind of point at which, you know, you don't have to try and kind of like breach the scene and head into exactly where he is. But you can see Samwell that morning. Don, what is Samwell up to?
So Samwell's spending the morning and he's up before dawn. He didn't sleep very much the night before. He doesn't feel tired though. He feels this sort of anxious energy that is just driving him forward. So he's like the most Samwell he's ever been. He's out like hugging the men, kind of slap fighting and wrestling. He's overseeing the movement of the siege weapons to prepare for the battle to come and directing different generals to different places. He's touching base with Harris multiple times to make sure that Harris understands how this is going to go down, that they're working together, that they're going to ride out together as they plan to. So he's all over the place. He's a flurry of energy, and he's already in his armor. It gleams in the dawn light. The green collar turns slightly blood red, and he's got his helm, attached to the, like, hooked on the side of his horse, his saddle currently. So he's not wearing his helm. His hair's in the wind. His gauntlets are hooked to the side of his armor, so his hands are exposed, so he can shake hands and do things like that. And that's what he's doing.
I think she would get to a place she's not hiding because she's not doing anything wrong. I think she would be clearly visible and just this still point in all this hubbub and people moving things and preparing, just watching everything he does. Yeah, she's not going to be grabbing attention or anything. Is
she standing somewhere like where she's very visible?
I'd imagine so, but like maybe underneath a tree or something. But I think she'd be more notable, partly because of the colors that she always wears, and partly just because it's one still person and everybody else is hectic.
And I think there's a moment after he kind of sends off Caswell to go run a couple of errands and preparations for the battle where he notices Faye there, and he stops all of his movement, all of his flurry. For a moment, he's still. And you can see in his eyes something like a blend of sadness and yearning, like he wants to say something or do something, but he doesn't move. He just raises a hand, almost like in a greeting from a distance. You can see his fingertips are stained with ink.
She'll mimic that and do the same. And just hold his gaze across that distance.
Mara, you awake in your and Samwell's tent that morning, and must be quite early, but Samwell has already headed out to prepare for battle today. And as you lazily get up, push away maybe some of the wine that's on the side table, looking for some water, you find that there is a folded up parchment, single piece, just resting next to the bed.
She probably picks it up and starts opening it as she eventually finds that water and is pouring from the jug. She's probably used to Samwell being up long before her, especially on days like this. And she'll probably see him before they all actually ride out, and she has some small plans for figuring out what's actually going on. But she'll read the letter as she's kind of taking a sip of water and, removing the old wine from the night before.
And you receive this message. If I fall or am captured, I ask this of you, and that you do not hate me for it. Escape. Put a child in your belly and say it's mine before you surrender. My father's house, your house, must survive.
think she takes a minute holding that letter, and it's one of those things when you're still half asleep and you read something and it doesn't quite go through the first time because you're just reading words on a page, and then she kind of reads it again and she's suddenly very awake, and she stands there with it for a moment, folds it up, will grab like a robe or like an overdress that she can wrap it around herself, put that in her pocket, and go looking for Samuel. She'll find the guards that are at the tent doors and find out where he is.
Mm-hmm. And they tell you, I'm not going to make you roll for this, as you're effectively the kind of the lady of the camp. And so you head out towards a glade where the men are mustering for battle that day. And in the commotion, standing just kind of at the precipice of that glade, but probably on the main part of the pathway, or like the kind of dirt track that leads up to it, at least in this area around the camp, you can see Samuel. And he is still quite busy and speaking to Harris. And then after a few moments, you see him kind of put his hand up in a greeting, kind of a wave. And over on the edge, again, of the glade, but further along to your right, stands Lady Faye.
I think she probably looks over to see Faye, doesn't attempt to greet her. Faye doesn't even probably know that she's here, but like the two of them kind of being so different in this space where everyone's moving, Mara is the same. She's not dressed yet. She's still kind of wrapped in this like large cloak that she's just pulled around her, and she'll wait for a moment for whatever that exchange is to be done, and then kind of try and make her way through the bustle towards Samuel, who will probably spot her a mile off as the woman wrapped in a cloak and still in like her chemise around all of these armored men.
I think Samuel, like he's holding Faye's gaze for a few long moments. And when he sees Mara approaching out of the corner of his eye, he sucks in a breath and he just gives Faye a meaningful nod, a single nod of his head. And then he turns away from her and gives a wan smile to Mara as she approaches.
Mara's still like trying to hold this cloak around her because she's not dressed, so she doesn't, offer him any kind of hand gesture, but just kind of returns that smile and then doesn't say anything for a second when she's kind of stood there. Like she wants to, but she doesn't know what to start with. Like it feels like the moment for good morning has already passed. You weren't just going to leave that and ride off, were you?
And clears his throat. I was, but I'm happy to see you before I do.
She gives him a kind of like a disappointed look. Not that she's angry at him, but that he'd even consider just leaving a note and leaving.
I don't plan on losing this battle, Mara.
Nobody plans on losing battles. That's good to hear. What about everybody else at the camp? There are still men there. There are free small folk there.
They will be my concern. But none of them can be the future.
Where am I supposed to go?
You're smarter than I am. You'll figure it out. If it comes to that, and I don't intend it to.
I have no family. I have no allies. All the allies that we have are on this field.
No matter what happens today, not all of these men will fall or be captured. There will be negotiations. There will be a future. And you will have a house one way or the other. You must. I have to focus on winning this battle. And I cannot worry about you when I do.
Don't worry about me. Worry about you.
I will.
You come back, you hear me?
I promise.
She kind of nods and knows that it's not a promise that he has any choice in keeping either way, and will just move herself into him because she can't reach up without dropping this cloak, but kind of move herself into him and give him a kiss. You come back. And that's like the thing that she says. She just looks him in the eye. I love you, and you come back.
He kind of takes her by the shoulders and he says, I love you too. Do what I ask.
And she nods, and it's sincere.
He kisses her forehead, and then he turns his gaze past her, shoots it past her to where the men are lining up and loading the catapults, preparing for the battle to come. And his eyes harden.
You're going to lead them well, and you're going to come back, and you're going to win this battle. And she kind of offers him what she can of a reassuring smile, and kind of gives him that final kiss on the cheek, and kind of forces herself to move away because she knows that otherwise she'll stand here forever, and he has to go and do something now. It's not good for him either.
He just, almost like a statue for a moment, remains staring outward at the line, the men mustering. And then he takes in another breath, and that anxious energy comes back to him. He grits his teeth and he marches forward.
Mara looks back over her shoulder once she can hear him moving again, the sound of the armor clanking. She just watches him walk over there and sees that other side to him that she doesn't really get to see because she's not there on the battlefield. She's not training with him, even if she's watching, but she sees the soldier that is her husband in that moment, and just makes her heading back to her tent to get dressed, to make preparations if she has to follow the directions on that letter. Probably will share that with like the couple of guard that Mara always has, that Sam will kind of has for her, share with them that if this goes south, this is what Samuel's orders are, and they should be prepared to go to, because she will wait at the camp until they hear word of however it goes.
Okay.
I think Faye would, she would be motionless throughout this, kind of forcing herself to watch all of this happen, watching somebody else get the goodbye she doesn't get to give, and watch him walk away, and then her eyes fall on Mara and she watches her go back to her tent, and then she very quietly picks herself up and goes back to her tent and starts making preparations.
Okay. Samuel, as you walk towards the siege weaponry and towards the men mustering, Harris joins you as you walk together now towards them. And Harris has that evident nervous energy about a general with the weight on his shoulders about him. And he takes a heavy sigh, and in front of you are kind of your, or his generals, yourself, Aubrey Ambrose, Caswell, even the young Lord Ashford as well, having come with you, joined up with you from Ashford.
Has Costain or any of the other houses that I might be expecting to arrived yet?
Harris reports that we've had no word from Costain.
That son of a bitch. All right. Samuel sees Harris's nervous energy and he cracks a crooked smile and he says, "You and I together today, we are going to tell a story that the Reach will remember for a very long time. Are you ready, my lord, to slay a dragon?"
He turns to you and he says, "Sam, there's been some last-minute changes to the battle plan. I know that you were saying that we would ride out together, hunt down the dragon, kill him ourselves. But I have other responsibilities to the Reach. I'll be commanding from the center. You'll be flanking in from the right, on the van. Tarly men are the strongest fighting force we have in this army. I need them on the van."
You'll be commanding from the center. You wouldn't have our greatest generals, the greatest minds in the Reach, command from the center while you show your leadership to the people of the Reach who don't know you yet. You still have to prove yourself, my lord, to them, to your generals, and to me too.
He doesn't look at you, but he says, "Win this battle, and I will have proved all I need." And he walks over to the rest of the lords assembled, and he describes to them what the order of battle looks like. So with Caswell, Merryweather, and Mullendore in the centre, Lord Harris will command from there. The Tarly forces, under the command of Lord Samwell, will be in the van and flank in from the right. Lord Ashford, you'll take the rear on the left. Sir Aubrey, you'll take Lord Ashford's men. And keep our flank protected from the rear on the left. The siege weaponry will prove to be useful in slowing their advance, but on open fields, not sure how effective they would be, depending on the formations they decide to form up into.
My lord, he interjects. House Tarly are more than the strongest knights and the largest army in the Reach. We are also the greatest marksmen in the Reach. We are the hunters. Allow me to sit in my scorpion. We needn't defeat their entire army in the open field. If we are brave and smart, we can slay their prince and watch their armies fall apart. And when that bolt is through his breastplate, then let our van ride out.
I need you to strike hard and fast. I can't have you sitting back.
Yes, my lord.
And he keeps his gaze on you for a second or two before moving on and talking with other sergeants and making plans for battle himself.
Samuel's not trying to hide the fact that he's not happy with Harris's decision. He doesn't break his gaze, but he doesn't step out of line.
Okay. And so the battle forms up, and on the plains of the Reach, out in the open field, the banners of the Targaryen loyalists spread out just below you as you form up on the right of this large battle line with the Tarly's, pretty much the Tarly's entire force. And so you form up with your knights. What other units have you got going on as well?
Oh, we have all kinds of things. Let's see here. We have a mobile guard, so like heavy infantry. We have scouts and raiders who fight at slight range with like spears and crossbows. We've got the knights. We've got the siege masters, who are also the archers, the elite archers of House Tarly. And then we have all the siege weapons. We have mantlets and turtles for defenses. We have, we won't need the grappling hooks. We're not sieging a castle. And probably back at camp is where we keep the small folk laborers. So these are the animal trainers, the beast masters, the healers. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And so with the siege units behind your flank, I think that's where they can fire in to the relevant flanks on the other side that you're looking towards. Squaring up on the opposite side to you, so on your flank, you see house banners in blue and yellow for House Crane, and you see the colours of House Florent as well. That's the fox, I think, isn't it? On white, and you see that fox face like peering out at you from across the field as you form up. On the center is the majority of the High Garden men-at-arms. The golden rose of House Tyrell is strewn across so many banners of those men that are forming up, and in amongst them you can see a kind of mishmash, various knights of the Crown Lands, and you can see a few banners from minor houses or landed knights there who have formed up under the larger House Targaryen banner of their red dragons on black. Somewhere in the center of that central formation must be Prince Baelor, and you believe for a moment or two that in that formation you can see the white armor and the white shield of a Kingsguard knight, but at this distance you aren't sure. And then on their vanguard, on the opposite side, completely to your left, you see the Knights of the Three Leaves and the familiar banner of yellow with three green oak leaves across it. And this formation of knights is looking strong and proud as they form up into a skein and are ready to engage. And as the two forces begin to move up, with you on the right, the majority of your forces, Caswell, Merryweather, Mullendore, under the command of Harris Ball, and Ashford under the command of Sir Aubrey on the left. That horrid anticipation of battle looms until the first few scorpion bolts start to fly overhead. And that seems to be the thing in the atmosphere that pushes everyone to start charging. You've got a little bit of a downhill, they've got a little bit of an incline, but eventually the two will meet in a meat grinder. In terms of the right on your flank, what is your plan of attack? What is your command? So you've got Crane and Florent forces. The majority of them are a at the least at the front that you can see, bows and skirmishers with some kind of probably dismounted knights and kind of footmen from behind them.
Yeah, so I think the order, as he kind of reorganizes all of the work that he's done for his troops over the past day, very quickly trying to get them settled in on the new plan, feeling comfortable, telling them, we're going to be the heroes of this battle. We're going to be the ones the Reach remembers. He sets forward his mobile garrison, the infantry in the front. They take a spread formation to be more resistant towards any archers from the enemy side, and marching up behind them as they march forward behind mantlets. So, these sort of like tilted, wooden metal planks that they can duck behind for cover are the archers, trying to strike at the enemy infantry, their front lines from range. And they're playing smart. They have the high ground, which means that they can fire a little bit further out than enemy archers can fire at them. And in the meantime, Samwell is getting the knights and the scouts, the mobile ranged fighters and the cavalry ready to move in. And so he's riding up and down the knight line. He's getting them to bang their swords and their spears against their shields to create this cacophony of noise. And they're waiting to charge down that hill until the moment that enemy archer fire gets close enough that it could actually strike at their front line, the mobile garrison. And until the opposing cavalry is set to hit the bottom of the hill. So if they want to ride up, or if they want to march up the infantry, they're going to have to march up the hill, and we're going to cut through our own line and ride them down from above. That's the plan.
Okay. So I think first things first, you command your archers to move forward, and but behind their mantlets start to rain down arrows on their opposing archers. So this is kind of a counter, like, archer off, I guess. So with those archers, I want you to roll then, please, their marksmanship test. Let's see if I got this here.
Okay. See. What? Perfect. All right. 17 with 1/6.
All right. So their defense of 7 is 3 degrees of success.
Okay.
And what's
and
your
are there any
marksmanship damage?
Are there any crit effects for
Oh,
warfare?
did I put any crit effects in for warfare? I think I did.
Yeah. Ignore 1 AR for 1 crit.
Oh, sweet. I need to
Okay. So
cheat sheet up.
so 3 degrees of success.
Yeah.
It's going to be 18 damage.
Woo.
Ignore 1 armor.
Incredible. Okay. And they are going to... so they've rolled a 12 with 1/6. What does that do against your defense?
That is just 1 degree of success.
Okay, so they're just going to do 5 damage. And obviously you'll soak that with some AR as well.
I'll soak all of it.
Oh, okay. So they did not come off well against that. And so by the sounds of it, your plan, as you can see, really does like begin to take effect, almost like exactly as you have imagined it. And so these arrows, like 2 arcing sets of arrows, blot out the sun, but blot out some light as they cross over between the two of you. And the mantlets do an amazing job of keeping your soldiers defended against. There's a few stray arrows that hit off a couple of footmen around you, perhaps, but the majority of them have done their job. And you can see these arrows slowly cutting down into their opposing archers, and even some of the ranks behind them start as they're moving up, as they can see that they're just going to get rained down upon. Exactly the kind of feint that you wanted draws them out, and so the men-at-arms, the Florent men-at-arms, begin to start marching up in their armor with their shields, and they start trying to get up this slight incline.
Okay.
So what does the counter move look like?
Are we running our own catapults, or has Harris taken the siege weapons for other purposes?
I'll let you run a catapult. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's time to roll some rocks down this hill.
Okay.
Okay. It's 15 versus units. So
yeah.
15.
So
1/6.
Mm-hmm. Do you want the majority of this to go to the archers or the infantry?
How are the archers looking? Have I routed them? What's their sort of situation after the 18 damage?
You must have cut down about half of their forces, and they are beginning to look really disorganized. There's now just it's you can see a trained archer unit that is well disciplined is going to all release at once. They're going to have that kind of command. That command structure is slightly broken down for them, and so they're not getting a kind of draw and release command. It's a kind of fire at will. There are arrows coming around you still, but it can't be more than say a dozen kind of over the space of a minute or so. So they've been cut down pretty fiercely, and the infantry have started to make their way up the hill.
Okay, yeah. Then I want to rain down hell on the infantry. I want to rout them. I want to try to force them to break apart and to give up trying to come up this hill.
Okay. So 15 versus, is it just their defense again?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is another 3 degrees of success.
That is going to be 30 damage, ignoring AR.
Fucking hell. Okay. I don't think this is strictly the rules. This is probably more D&D rules, but that is a huge amount over their actual health.
Is it if you double their health or something happens?
I don't think it's rules as written, but this is so much that those catapults that are firing from behind you do exactly what you intended. And these big boulders smash down into the ground, and you can see soldiers getting crushed under them. As they roll down the incline. That kind of natural momentum pushes them further and further into the crane lines, and the Florent men that are behind them that are trying to make their way up. So the first rank of infantry are now routing, and now the crane infantry are basically bracing for your attack. So they're no longer making their way up, but they are pretty much shields up, defending as best they can, but this whole flank particularly looks shaken.
They're still climbing. Some of them are still climbing the hill.
That effectively the unit is no longer an actual cohesive unit. There are some men that are still progressing up. There are maybe a couple of stubborn knights who probably don't know better, who are still making their way up and still thinking, I'm just going to cut down 1 or 2 of these Tarly men just to, prove a point or kind of, see out my soldiering days. But that's it.
Okay. Samuel is patient. He's unsheathed his Valyrian steel sword, the sword of his house, Heartsbane, and he's holding it up in the air so that as the morning light rises higher and higher, it's reflecting. It looks like it's on fire at the front line of his knights, but he's not charging forward with his knights. His scouts, who are sort of turtle, although within the turtle, he'll use them next. If they're continuing to climb, if some of the men are continuing to climb, their basic goal is just pick those men off with crossbow and spear from a distance. Don't let them even get to the Tarly garrison. I want to smash this first offensive entirely. And strike some fear into the heart of the knights and the Targaryens and the Crownlands men who haven't advanced yet.
Absolutely. And with that patience, with that moment that you have, as your soldiers are, standing their ground and still firing down at this flank, you have a moment to survey the battlefield. So why don't you make me a awareness with strategy or tactics, and I'll give you I'll let you ask some questions basically, and I can give you a basic description of what's happening.
Okay. So bonus die. I rolled pretty bad. A 9.
That's okay. So you can, as you glance over, you can see that the central columns of the two armies have met into a meat grinder, and they are just hacking away. And this is the point at which they've both engaged. It's very difficult for them to actually retreat without just routing or, able to maneuver. And so at this point, it's just a battle of attrition in the center. Over the other side, over the other flank, you can see those banners of the Knights of the Three Leaves from House Oakhart, and you see them, and you see a couple of them just glancing ahead, just over what you can see through the center of the flanks, and you can see them. They're just a little bit further, maybe into your lines than you would like, or that any reasonable commander would like. So you think they're maybe gaining some momentum there. If you want to ask me a couple of questions about that, I'll give you a solid, truthful answer as well.
Okay. So what you just said is the Oakharts are further into our lines than any of the other opposing forces. Mm-hmm. Okay. Question number 1, does he see Alistair amongst them?
You don't see Alistair amongst the Knights of the Three Leaves. You believe you see the figure, and heading, your experience around court, you would I think you would recognize, and actually this is fun, you would recognize the horse, because Sam was also this tawny knight and this kind of thing. You recognize the horse and the barding and the kind of figure of Sir Gawain Oakhart leading that flank.
He tried to punch me when he was riding that horse one time. Yeah, I remember that horse.
But this is all the way over the other side of the battle lines. So, this is, I don't know, it's 300 yards out. You can just make out the forms of people, and it's only because of those kind of key defining features that you kind of recognize who you think is Sir Gawain.
Yeah, but you don't.
But so specifically, because I always like to answer specifically, you do not see Alistair in that flank.
What would it take? So Samuel has to make a very quick decision on what to do next. How exposed to enemy archers or other enemy knights would we be if we rode down to meet the Oakharts at the line?
You would have to do one of two things. You would either have to try and smash through their rear, which is the flank that's ahead of you, on their left, and get right the way around them to try and hit them from their rear flank, the knights' rear. Or you would have to pull back around your own forces and reinforce the Ashford flank because of this meat grinder in the middle. If you tried to ride basically as the crow flies almost directly towards where this is happening, you're going to hit like the left the left side of the enemy forces that are in the center, which is going to outflank them. You're going to do a good job of attacking them, but you're going to get caught up in that, and you're going to have a very hard time trying to maneuver your forces out and back around.
Okay. Yeah, he sees that, and as itching as he is to prove himself and to ride down and be victorious, it's not time yet. And so he swallows that instinct and his own pride when he sees Gwaine. And instead, he is going to order, let's see. He's going to order his scouts to advance but stay behind the meat grinder and use their spears and their crossbows to try to target the Oakheart Knights. So they'll advance a little so that they can hit at a slight range.
They're not going to be within range, really. Not well. They're gonna bump up against the their left. It's going to be all of the Highgarden forces, all of the, spearmen and men-at-arms and stuff like that, and those kind of knights from the Crown Lands. So they're going to kind of effectively like be involved in the meat grinder. They're not really going to be able to get like a shot over the distance of that like central combat.
That makes sense. Are they, okay, sorry, last question I've got, so I can do two things. Are they in range of the archers? Are archers at the top of the hill, or are they out of range?
You could, yes, effectively at long range, try and pick off some of the Knights of the Three Leaves. But I would give you a penalty dice. I'll give them a penalty dice because of the long range.
Yeah.
That's firing like an arc of arrow fire from across one end of the battlefield to
all the way to the other
end of the battlefield. And if they're currently in a scrap with the Ashford forces, you could hit Ashford forces as well.
Okay. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it for Samwell, right? The Ashford forces can't go anywhere. And if they push back House Oakheart, then Ashford's still right there in the mix. They gain a little bit of ground. There might be a slight trade-off, but it's a trade-off that he's willing to make in this moment.
Okay. So yeah, makes me their marksmanship test with a penalty die. And I'll get up the very old handout for Knight of the Three Leaves, which still has their stats on.
Yeah, we haven't seen them in a long time.
No, but unbelievably, we still have them.
I remember them all too well. Okay. 16 with 1/6.
Oh, that's not too bad, and even with the penalty dice as well. Okay, where are we? These Knights of the Three Leaves are not as good as I remember they are, as they were. Armor, combat defense. That is 2 degrees of success.
2 degrees.
And it is double their combat defense too. So you get that crit.
So is that 3 degrees?
It's not.
Okay.
I don't think it is anyway. The combat defense is 8. You rolled a 16, so it's 8.
Oh yeah, no, that's right. Yep. It'll be 12 damage, ignore 1 AR.
Okay. All right. Okay. And so you can just about see off in the distance how they kind of have to like, and this is a cavalry unit, right? So they're able, particularly with their maneuverability, you can kind of see them circling. So they'll like reform and then they'll kind of try and hit again. So that the kind of shock tactics are really what, make cavalry prove themselves. And so you can see them, they're a little bit more disorganized in how they're kind of coming about back to, then counterattack and hit them again. And you can see them getting a little bit caught up in that fight, and you think you see a couple of people topple off their horses. So you think you've done a fairly good job. So they're going to be disorganized now. But that opens your archers up, your scouts up, for the advancing troops that are coming up the hill now as your attention is diverted. So we're going to give those infantry an attack on your scouts. For 14 against your combat defense. Or their combat defense.
Let's see. Is this against the archers that just fired?
What at the front, your archers, aren't they?
Yeah.
What did you describe there? Yeah, I think that's
so.
Right.
It's either the infantry, like the front line, or the archers that are behind them.
Oh, okay. So if the infantry have moved forward to then try and protect the archers, that gives the archers the opportunities to do that. But then so now your front line has met with the Crane and the remaining Florent knights, and so they're now engaged.
That's 3 degrees of success against the infantry.
Okay. Is that double their combat defense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So with 1 crit, I'm ignoring an AR as well, and so this infantry unit will do 9 points of damage. So as a quick reminder, just in case I think this is what I changed the rules to. Becoming disorganized and routing is like wounds, so you can ignore all the damage right now, and you guys will become disorganized. So now, whenever you want them to do something, you need to start rolling a warfare check to get them to do it. And then if a unit is disorganized and then they receive enough damage either to reduce their health, or they take some damage and you decide I'm going to ignore it again, they start routing, and so they just start running away.
Okay.
With my warfare rules, if a unit's health goes down to 0, they're defeated.
Okay.
So you get those opportunities to soak the damage, but then effects start happening.
Yeah, I like that because it's more like the regular intrigue and combat rules.
Exactly. Right.
This isn't gonna. They won't have to become disorganized. They'll take a hit, but it doesn't take them down or anything.
Okay, yeah. So even behind these mantles, and they, you can see the infantry start kind of worming their way around them and start attacking, and they start kind of pushing your front just that little bit further up the hill, and it allows some of the, Florent stragglers to form back up, reorganize a little bit, and get back into those kind of rear flanks or rear ranks, so that they can start heading up and actually start engaging your forces properly.
So.
Yeah. Cool.
If they're attacking, if they're locking in with the front line, the infantry, is this an opportunity where we can ride around and hit them from the side on our horses?
Yeah, absolutely.
Samuel's ready to ride some people down.
All right. Well, give us the thing. This is going to be like a charge as well, right? So, you could, if you want to, in terms of your orders, take a -1 dice to your roll, but you add +2 to your base damage with the unit. Bit like combat, right? When you charge in combat.
No, I think this is surgical.
Okay.
I think instead of a full-out charge down the hill, they're coming around the outside of their own front line, and they're just sweeping behind these stragglers who are climbing the hill. They've already, kind of been taken down by the archers on their approach, and they're just hitting. They're doing what cavalry do best. They sweep and they keep riding, and then they pull back behind their own line again.
And are you going in with this unit as well?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so what I want to do instead is obviously we can do a unit roll, but I want to see some big swingy Samuel Tarly combat actions, because you're on horseback, you're coming in, and you've got this huge Valerian steel sword. You're able to like carving through some of these poor boys below you. So being on horseback and they're on foot, you will take you will get like a +1 keep dice to your attack roll, and then you've got your damage all queued up and stuff, I guess, right? You've got your special macros going on.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll have to add an extra die here real
Characters
quick.
attacking units. If an individual character attacks a unit, they can make a test against the unit's combat defense. Each degree of success deals 1 damage, ignoring AR. So you could do that first, and then we can do like the units as well afterwards, and just like see how far they like plow through them.
Okay. Let's do it. Here is, and then the units are going to be. The units are less impressive. That's okay. Pretty low roll.
Oh yeah.
For me.
Oh, excuse me. Thanks.
23.
Oh.
And then an 11.
Well, 23 against their combat defense is 4 degrees of success.
Okay, so that is 40 damage. Oh, but I don't count damage. It's just 4 damage, right?
4 damage for their whole unit, which they'll take. And I'm gonna throw maybe like, let's see here, 5 boys at you. Okay, as you're riding through, this is going to be like 5, counterattacks to you effectively as you're trying to plow through these foot knights. So let's see. It's just fighting. Okay. 14 against your combat defense for Samwell.
I do it. You said they're taking 5 swings at me?
Yeah, so 5 different independent swings are coming for you. This is the, Jon Snow cinematic shot where you're like riding through and then it's like a guy coming at you and you cut him down. There's another guy coming at you and you cut him down.
Okay. Yeah, so that's 2 degrees of success.
Okay. So that is going to be 6 damage. And bear in mind your AR of your armor as well. Like your full plate's probably going to tank that.
It does, yeah, soaks it.
That is the handy thing about full plate armor.
Yep.
Is that you can just start tanking some stuff. So we're going to throw some of these out at you again. And I doubt we're going to get like big numbers, but a 10.
Yeah, that'll be 1 degree of success.
So that'll only be 3 damage. 11.
2 degrees of success.
Again, so your armor soaking basically all of these hits as, again, just probably that plot armor, right? You're coming in, you're riding in, and you're just like swinging this great sword left and right over the, carefully over the neck of your horse, and just, cutting down the spearmen that are trying to get you off your horse, of the dismounted knights that are trying to like square up to you, even though you're on horseback. And, you, like you said, surgically start carving through this infantry unit.
I have a narration, a description. With cavalry behind me, because I think Samwell's riding first, and they're right behind with their lances. He's got Heartsbane in 2 hands. They rolled an 11 against this unit.
Okay. And this unit's combat defense is 5, so 2 degrees of success.
That'll be 16 more damage. 4 from me and 16 from the cavalry.
So they will definitely disorganize at this point. That's the infantry. Because it was the Knights of the Three Leaves that disorganized as well. So now they don't have any kind of like cohesion, and they are just like one more kind of little hit away from routing. So you can see that, a good kind of 25, men have fallen. There has been, like a bit of scrapping between your front line and them, and so some of your men have gone down as well. But in amongst the mantles and some of the blood and the mud are your knights just like charging through and starting to kind of, form up again as you've kind of gone through their unit with these horse.
So Samwell like leans forward, shifts his weight forward, and he kicks up a little bit, just slightly off his saddle as he's riding through this line. And as spears come up at him, his Valyrian steel sword, Heartsbane, it cuts through most weapons as easily as it cuts through flesh. And so he's chopping through their weapons. He takes off a head. He drives a sword down at an angle, very simply just sliding it into the shoulder through the heart of another person as he passes. And as he's riding through and you can hear the hoofbeats of his army behind him, I imagine like maybe a bigger infantryman that's just like beaten against the shield line of the garrison. His front line turns, and right as he turns, Samwell leans forward and swoops his greatsword down and back up, and he cleaves his face from jaw to top of the skull, opening up bone, brain, everything inside. He rides them down to the horse, and he leads his cavalry back around behind his own line.
Okay. When you form up on the behind your own line, you can see now that the central column and these, two ferocious fighting forces crushing under the weight of each other have started to make a little bit of progress on the Targaryen side, and they're pushing into the kind of left side of your lines. And now you can begin to see that the Ashford flank is starting to rout and head back towards your camp, kind of back up that slight hill. And the Knights of the Three Leaves are starting to actually regroup now properly under the command of Sir Gawain, and are about to charge into your exposed central line, into that like left flank, and outflank them.
So his chest heaving, his eyes filled with blood. Samwell looks down, he surveys the battlefield, and he's torn. He sees the advancing Oakhart Knights. He sees that his forces are starting to push into the Targaryen line, and that's where he wants to be, but it's not time yet. And he turns to his archers. He raises his bloody sword into the air, and he swings it out over the edge of the hill towards the Targaryen side of the forces. And he calls out another order for them to fire at the Targaryen archers. And then he raises his sword and he gestures with it towards the approaching Oakharts, and he will take his... if they're not in a meat grinder anymore, if they're riding up and approaching, he'll take his knights and he will meet them and order his scouts to follow behind.
Okay. I'm going to leave that for just a second and come to Enzo. And so as the Mermaid Sapphire silently pulls up onto the edge of the riverbank, just shy of Highgarden itself, two poor garrison guards patrolling the road leading up to Highgarden are in awe at this kind of, effectively this cog, this ship, having sailed up the Mander, and stand just agog, not knowing what to do, until two short crossbow bolts hit one and the other, and they drop down to the floor. Now your crew is ready to disembark. Bianca has them well informed about what to do, but she wants to go over the plan with you one last time. So what, Enzo, does your plan look like?
So we're at Highgarden now, yes?
In the distance, you can see the cook fires of the Tarly, the rebel camp.
Yeah. Okay. So when you say we're at Highgarden, we like docked at in this city, Highgarden, or like just outside, or we're
you can see Highgarden in the distance. But I thought the more pertinent thing for you was that you can see in the distance the cook fires of the camp that Samwell Tarly and his host.
Okay, so that's my main gate. So that's my main thing. So Enzo's going to tell Bianca to ensure that the ship is turned round So turn it round so that we can go back down river at a moment's notice. And from here, we're probably going to go on foot. I suppose those people didn't have horses, did they? You know, I'm not that lucky.
You can spend a destiny point for them to have a horse.
No, I won't do that. I won't
Okay.
do that. How could I gauge how many miles or leagues are away? So how long would it take for me to get to that camp on foot?
It's probably maybe just a league or two away. It's
Okay,
about,
that's not too
about
bad.
half an hour. Yeah,
That's not too bad then.
It's not too far.
In that case, I will tell Bianca to turn the ship around. Or do I want her to come with me? Ooh, no, she belongs on the ship. I only trust her with my ship, with the Sapphire. And I will take my only surviving companion, Garth. So Garth, and I think I'll take just like a small handful of sailors with me. You know, just like, you know what? I'll take those crappy thingy sailors with me. You know, the ones we picked up at King's Landing.
You can take your rookie sailors with you.
My rookie sailors with me. I just need bodies to get in the way. That's all. Okay. Yeah, I'll just take a handful of them, while the remaining crew, the more experienced and the ones that I actually care about, can stay on the Sapphire and get her ready should we need to escape rather quickly. And so essentially the plan is I'm gonna leave with these people. Bianca's gonna get the ship ready, and with any luck, we'll be back roughly, depending today, in hopes to actually set sail immediately. Or telling them to always keep an eye out. Any approaches, see if you can do it through conversation. If need be, to protect the Sapphire, sail away, and we'll meet back at another place. But they are to hold position until I return.
Okay. And so, how do you approach the camp?
I think I'm going to be pretty open, to be honest. I'm just going to be kind of like just walking, you know, like weapons still away. Telling the sailors to keep their mouths shut and let me do all the talking.
Okay.
And essentially to I would guess that the battle's already taken place right at this very moment, right? It's quite obvious.
In the distance, you can hear the sound of pitched battle.
So. Like just cavalry itself,
just
like
on the
thunder.
Just on the wind, you can hear it.
Okay, so Ender's going to come up to. I assume there's going to be some sort of guards there, just generally. He's going to kind of just approach, and he's going to smile. He goes, "Gentlemen, I am here to see. I would imagine it would be Mara, unless she is fighting beside her dear husband."
Who are you?
You offend me, sir. My name is Enzo Sal. I am a dear friend of Samuel and Mara.
Okay. I want you to roll me, please. Status, reputation.
Okay, I have an actual special thing with the state because you gave it to me.
Pretty sure you do.
I add charm to the status rolls when using reputation.
Okay.
So, I think I roll 6, keep 3.
Okay.
I think. The charm bonus dice wouldn't have been turned into test dice with that, would it? It's just bonus, right?
Let me have a look. See if it's actually in the book, or it's something
not.
that. Is it not?
It's not. It's something. No, famous essentially just means I can re-roll. Sorry, I can for persuasion to charm or seduce. I can turn my charm or seduce into test die, but nothing to do with reputation or anything. This one is you added it personally because because I was famous and it just didn't really fit into the status thing at all.
Yeah, I can't even really remember.
Well, I've got it written down as I add charm to status rolls when using reputation.
That sounds to me like you add it as a static modifier at the end.
So what?
To
just
the
add
results.
+3.
Yes.
Or whatever the charm. Gotcha. Okay. It is +3, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So 16. Not bad, actually.
The 3 guards that have now assembled, kind of looking a bit confused. They don't strike you as, exactly Tarly's most competent men-at-arms. These are the support unit, and they've been left behind.
The dregs.
There's a young lad there too, like a squire. And the kind of the 3 of the guards kind of look between each other. They have a little very quiet kind of conflab, and then they kind of like turn round to you, and one of them says, "Wait here," and then the other one turns and goes and gets Mara, who I assume after a couple of minutes arrives.
Yeah, if they tell her, it depends. Do they tell her it's Enzo, or do they just say that, there's some guy
There's a
here
man.
to see you?
Hang on.
Because her reaction will be very different depending on what they tell her.
Oh no.
They just tell you that there is a guest. He said that he was your old friend. They didn't remember his name.
I imagine that Mara
How
has.
can they not?
I imagine that Mara has been kind of like between being in her tent and kind of being around the camp, trying to help keep spirits up with the small folk, trying to keep any of the guards that are left here and her own guards kind of occupied and checking in on them, like doing what you would do while you're waiting for your host to hopefully come back from battle. And so when they tell her that there is someone here claiming, they're an old friend, she will immediately grab, the 2 guards that Samuel would have left her and bring them. And she's in her armor, with a cloak. She is dressed ready to either ride or for something to approach, and having to be in that with Samuel's rapier still at her hip, because she carries that everywhere. And I don't think, like, as she approaches the gates, she will have these men won't be prepared, because in her mind this could be Alistair. It would be in her head, she's like, this is what I would do because there's no one here. So things probably get more unfriendly before Mara even gets there at the gates. But when she sees that it's Enzo, she'll tell them all to lower their weapons. Just
as you approach and see Enzo, he's there in the loft. He goes, "Really? You don't know me, Enzo, the silver-tongued pirate? Seriously?" And he's just kind of talking to the guy, trying to explain who he is.
To the lad, just leaning on a spear.
To the lad. Seriously, you don't go to the pub or what?
To be fair, Enzo, many of these men have been marching for the last few months. You'll have to forgive them. Battle fatigue.
Oh, well, I will forgive them this one time.
You have brought friends.
Oh, these are just my crew. It's dangerous times. It's good to have protection, particularly if you are walking through the wilds. I'm sure you understand.
Bandits and raiders love war.
Oh, they do indeed.
Please. And she'll gesture let them in.
Thank you. He'll turn to everyone apart from Garth, who will stick with him. Just don't cause trouble. Hang around, talk to people.
Mara will grab a couple of probably younger squires who are standing around doing nothing, and just be like, take these men to the hospitality tent, get them some wine, don't play cards. If she can see that they're sailors, she has flashbacks from travel.
Okay.
But we'll extend Enzo and wait for him to get up to her before they start walking.
And you go, well, I hope there is wine where we are going too.
Much better wine where we are going. What are you doing here? I mean, it's wonderful to see you, but Mara's now remembering the wedding, having a moment as the courtly grace drops away, and she's like, hold on a minute. But she'll probably bring them back to her and Samuel's tent, because that's private and probably in a fairly, decent place to be, that's well protected as well. And kind of pull the curtain back and please take a seat if you can find any.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So you'll probably start moving some clothing that's been kind of just over a chair and go, Right. Okay. And just kind of like start pouring himself some wine.
There is wine on the side. It's probably like it's not amazing wine, but it's probably better than whatever's in the hospitality tent. Mara's just going to sit down on the edge of her cot and kind of awkwardly adjust her armor as she tries to get comfortable.
You look around. Are things like semi-packed?
I mean, I think everything would be kind of packed away in trunks and stuff anyway, just because they've been on the move.
Okay.
And if something went wrong and they were coming back, they'd want to move what they could.
Okay.
But Mara hasn't specifically like packed a bag as such. That wouldn't be her plan in terms of Samuel's orders. But
so he'll sit down and he'll kind of relax and have a look around and look at her and go, "So how are you doing? You well?"
I'm at war, so whatever that is. Had a nasty run-in with a Valyrian steel sword, and she kind of indicates to her, you know, probably now mended, but very still obviously scarred armor. Enzo, about the wedding. I sent men to look for you. I don't know how you got out. It's impressive, frankly. Nobody else did, but I need you to know that you were never, ever in any danger.
It wasn't the first wedding that I had to leave very quickly. It is in the past. What happened is happened.
So why are you here?
I'm here to see a friend. I'm here to see Faye.
I see. Okay.
I thought it would be only appropriate to come to yourself or Samuel as the leader of these armies and this camp to request an audience with Faye.
Well, how much we lead this camp seems to dwindle by the day, with Lord Harris making his way in. But the Reach has a new Lord Paramount, if you haven't heard.
Oh, I've heard that he's not quite there yet.
Are any of them ever quite there yet?
Actually, it's a very good point. I tend to leave that kind of politics to them. I prefer to have more fun.
Piracy over politics looks like a sensible decision right now. She kind of like awkwardly, and she's really, you can tell she's really trying to make light of this, but like underneath that there is a deep, it's kind of like the same night when you met at the tree around the same time as the trial, where like she was trying to hold it together, but you can see underneath that she is like, her hands are shaking as she kind of presses them into her lap, and she's really trying to keep her composure.
And, Enzo will get up and he'll kind of pour a glass and he'll go over to Mara and place it in her hands. And he'll go, "I find this helps."
She takes only a very small sip of that wine. Like it's a thing of like, you poured me wine, so I'm going to make the effort to drink it, but then she immediately sets it down on the nearest surface.
So, yes, I'm here to see Faye.
You understand that Lady Faye is our hostage?
I understand the premise of a hostage, yes.
May I ask what you're here to see her about?
It is a personal matter that has no effect of the war effort. Of that you have my word.
She looks at Enzo with like a long glare, like she's making a decision in her head. I'll take you to her.
Much appreciated.
There are guards on the doors, though. So.
That is fine, as long as me and Faye can talk alone inside. That is fine.
You might as well bring the wine. She won't take it
idea.
from me.
I don't know how is she going to react.
Well,
wine.
She cannot, no matter whatever it is you might have done, if you've done anything at all. She cannot hate you more than she hates me. So,
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of hate to go around. Mara, before we go, obviously I know that Samuel currently is down there somewhere fighting.
she kind of looks away into the corner of the room until that topic has left Enzo's lips.
Could I ask you, what is your plan afterwards?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, one way or another, either through victory or defeat, you have to have a plan. Victory, then I suppose it's celebrations, but then the war will continue or it will end. What is the plan after that? And if in defeat, what are you going to do?
If we win this battle, the war continues until Blackfyre sits the Iron Throne, I assume. In defeat, well, I try not to think about that.
I would, if I were you. And
I
quickly.
am now the Lady of House Tarly.
Mm.
Samuel's father passed a few weeks back. We managed to get him here after Baelor besieged Horn Hill. So whatever happens out on that field, I'm responsible for this house.
So it is important that you live, regardless of what happens.
I've met Baelor before this war. He is, much as I hate to admit it, a fair man. I can't imagine that if we lose on that battlefield, they'd ride here and slaughter everyone in this camp.
You are right about Baelor. I imagine he is a very honorable and upstanding person. But he is not the one you have to worry about. Immediately after battle, when the bloodlust is still up, it is all the other common soldiers you have to worry about. He will have no control. He will allow them to do as soldiers do. Mop up the rest. Do as much damage as they can.
Guards and horses. I will be fine.
Very well. If you believe so. Very well.
I have survived this long and come this far. Your offer to Essos sounds better and better each day this war goes on.
Well, I imagine would be sipping a lot better wine now than you would when you would now with that back in Essos. Anyway, let us not keep Faye waiting. I have...
Yes, and as they're walking, Mara will start walking towards where Faye's tent is. Did you see anybody else on the road when you approached? Any men, knights? Anyone striking colours?
No. But in all fairness, Mara, I try to avoid as many people as possible on the way here.
Okay. And she'll pause outside of Faye's tent when we get there. And Faye will probably hear the approach because Mara's got knights with her. And she'll pull back the curtain just a bit to like indicate that there's someone there. Lady Faye?
She'll be inside and she's been kind of fussing over some stuff on the table, and she turns around very sharply at that because she's used to hearing soldiers outside, but that voice is different. And she's got her bow already slung over her shoulder.
Mara hasn't like pulled back the flap. It's just enough to like let a bit of light in to catch Faye's attention. You have a visitor.
Clearly.
Not me. I think you'll want to entertain this one. And she'll just put the tent flap back and kind of... She won't leave immediately, but she will give that entrance area space.
Enzo will kind of just mouth thank you, and he'll open up the flap and kind of peek in and, Faye, may I enter?
She'll just completely freeze and blink at him a couple of times and then look to Mara and look to him.
Mara's like resting up against like a barrel that's somewhere just like in line of the entrance. And she kind of offers Faye not quite a smile, but like a talk. Like I have nothing to do with this. Look, but Mara will stay close enough to the tent that like she can't hear the conversation, but she can hear when people are talking.
And
with her guards.
Brought wine.
Please talk in private.
Thank you, Mara. And he'll enter and kind of shut the tent, and he'll turn around and go, "Hello.
Hello.
You look quite well."
Let's not. I think we both look better.
It's true. I've not had a bath in so long. And he'll put the wine down.
She's kind of still frozen by that table. I think she can't quite bring herself to move.
And he'll kind of like slowly start walking to her. And I hope you are okay.
As one can be, I suppose.
Well.
With all this. Why are you here?
Oh, because I have completed your task and have information for you.
Right. I thought you sent a letter.
Well, I also decided that it was probably too long since I last met you. I wanted to see you at least once more.
Before what?
For whatever happens next.
Right. Well, you should probably tell me then.
Forgive me, Faye, but and he'll step closer to kind of like do more of a whisper. Such the information that I have for you would not be wise to share in this camp with so many ears.
She'll slightly cock her head to the side. What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that maybe, Faye, it is time for you to come home.
You men don't change your tune, do you? You pick a thing and stick to it.
This is for a slightly different reason. That time was sheer necessity. This, I think it would just be easier.
Easier than what? I've put in... It can't all be for nothing. I've put so much work into...
Tell me Tell me truthfully now. Do you truly believe that you can change anything that will happen beyond this point? For the better?
Yes.
Good. Good. I am not going to force you to do anything, Faye. I couldn't, even if I wanted to. It's a suggestion. Your people have been without their lady for such a long time. And the war, although Golden Grove has escaped most of it, the effects are starting to reach that far. They have been alone this entire time.
My people are strong and they can rule under the magistrate. I picked him for a reason.
You did, and he is doing a very good job. But he is not you, is he?
If I leave this place, there is no voice of reason. I wish more than anything it was hopeless. I wish more than anything that I could jump on a horse and... But the protection I have bought my people, it won't last indefinitely. I have to continue to protect them, and I can't do that from in there.
Very well. Could you at least meet me halfway? Could you at least come with me out of the camp to my ship until the battle is over? And then once it is over, one way or another, you can then go back to the army should you want to. If not, then you can decide then.
You do understand what the word hostage means, don't you?
I understand what the word hostage means. You leave that to me. I just need you to know. I just want you to be safe, that's all.
And if you can do this, if you can convince them, somehow you swear to me that I can return.
I swear to you, Faye, you can do what you wish.
And she'll kind of reach into her pocket and crumple the note that Samuel left her. And just kind of grip that for a second. Well, let's see how far your silver tongue will get you then. Good luck.
And that moment is when you hear cries come up from the camp, men shouting loud, and then you can hear the sound of clashing weapons on the perimeter of the camp. Mara, as the guards that are around you and your two bodyguards kind of move a bit further, go towards you back to back, weapons drawn, ready to see what the danger is, you see in glinting plate armor and from the trees and bushes from around, archers in the colours of the absent House Greenmont attacking the camp as hollow hearts start to make their way in towards the tents. Don, I'm going to need you to roll me a fighting check for the support unit, please.
Sons of bitches.
Yeah, well, I didn't describe any Greenmonts, did I? On the battle line.
Nope, you did not.
I did not.
All right, let's see. Okay. Support units. Anything else I should be rolling?
It's just the support units that's back there, right? You haven't left anyone else there?
No, I mean, besides Mara's knights that kind of watch her and a few guards for, I imagine there's some guards for the wards, the prisoners, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't leave them unguarded, but
Okay, 8 for their fighting test. So the archers rolled a 20 against the support's combat defense.
It's not good.
High. That's quite high.
Yeah, that's going to be 4 degrees of success.
Ooh. They're going to deal 24 damage.
So I guess you disorganize, right? To take 0. Yeah, I mean, the support units are like animal trainers and hunters, they're healers. There's a lot of healers. They're not fighters. They're, peaceful people that kind of follow along at the tail of the army. So, and I think that, like Samuel would have probably given them, whoever leads them, the quartermaster, in the order that, like, if the fighting comes, flee, hide in the woods, wait until the battle's ended, and then present yourself. He doesn't want them trying to defend the camp because they're not fighters, and they're his people. They're the small folk. They shouldn't be the ones to bleed here.
Okay. Oh, well, they can rout if you want.
Yeah. I think I think if they get attacked, I think the guards, the knights, whoever's behind, will stay and defend the camp. But the small folk, they're gonna flee. They're gonna flee to the fields, to the river, maybe towards the river.
But the guards are probably outnumbered at least 4-1. Not counting the archers, as these hollow hearts, these men of steel, start literally just in a rough line, start walking through the camp, cutting down anyone who gets in their way, and effectively fighting off any of the guards that are making their way out to try and meet them. Mara, They seem to look around, and you see a couple of hollow hearts on that flank look around towards you, and you get a flash of their eyes from their visors from across the camp, from across the field. But they look at you for just a second or two, and then they look somewhere else, looking for something else. But the 3 of you are around here, and Faye and Enzo, you can absolutely hear the sound of this happening.
Mara takes that opportunity once they're looking somewhere else to step back, will call her knights back with her to stay close to her, and just doesn't even open the tent flap. Go. Enzo, take her and go now. Leave. Both of you, go.
What about you? You going to stay and die?
No. But they saw me and they didn't come over here. They're looking for something and I want to know what it is.
You, most probably.
These are Greenmont men.
Definitely you, then.
Just leave. Both of you, go. And she looks at Faye and she's giving Faye that look of like, please leave.
Faye will instantly come out of the tent. She's got her bow off her shoulder and an arrow knocked already. I think you know as well as I do that I'm not going anywhere. You didn't.
If anything happens to you, he will never forgive himself. Go.
His family means everything to him, and you're all that's left, so...
If things go bad, I won't be staying either.
Come with us. We'll come back afterwards.
If she looks over briefly, what are these men doing now? Are they still advancing, or does it look like they're looking for something? Are they making their way over here?
They're now searching for something.
Oh, I want to do something stupid because it's Mara and these are Greenmont men. And she likes talking to people.
Ooh.
Oh, no. So Enzo will come up, and he's already sliced the back of the tent open to go out from the back instead of the front, because he's ready. Right.
Yeah.
So he comes up and he kind of sticks his head out. He goes, and it goes, well, I wish one of you would make a decision, please. You cannot do anything if you die here. Live for tomorrow. Yes?
Can Mara see whoever's leading this force? And does she recognize them? Is it somebody she knows?
make me an awareness notice check. It's going to be quite hard between all the tents and all the kind of chaos that's going on. But you can give it a go.
Oh, this is going to be horrible. 7. No.
Just from like the way that they're like walking through the camp and they're working in small groups and they're all just dressed in the Hollow Heart's full plate armor, you can't tell who is leading this.
I'm going to do something stupid because it's more fun. I'm sorry. Is there a horse nearby that Mara can get to?
If you spend a destiny point, there's a horse nearby you can get to.
I have a destiny point, I think. Let me double check if I can remember where they are on the sheet. It's been a long time. I do. I have one. Yeah, Mara wants to elevate herself by getting up on the horse. She doesn't ride off too far. If Faye and Enzo want to follow her, they can, but her knights will.
Okay.
She's going where the armed men are. Behind them.
Why is it we only team up when death is approaching?
Because we've been taken in by a narcissist. Continue.
And Mara is going to get on top of that horse.
Okay.
And if she can, if there's like a place where they've gathered towards the center of the camp as they're doing this search, if it's methodical, she's going to call out who she is and ask for their commander. And she's going to keep the horse moving so she's not stationary, but like very Daenerys talking to the Unsullied kind of thing, putting herself as a figure that they can see and looking for whoever is commanding them.
So you're like announcing yourself, like using your titles, but saying Lady Mara Tarly?
Yeah, Lady Mara Tarly.
Okay.
And wanting to speak to whoever the commander of this force is.
Make me a status reputation check.
I've got a bonus die on the screen, right?
Maybe.
You do.
Do I?
You do.
I do.
You do.
Okay.
Yes.
I will use a bonus die on this.
Okay.
8.
Oh.
Not amazing. Because it's reputation, not breeding.
Yeah.
So you cry out on horseback to try and get the kind of respect and attention from these men over and above the task that they have been given. But it's just unfortunately not enough. You see they've now, but because you're up high and because you've been trying to get their attention, you see that they have converged towards the center of the camp around Lord Leo's cage.
That makes sense.
And now the archers from the periphery, from the bushes and the trees, have begun to move in as well.
They're after Leo.
Enzo's going to go right next to Faye, stand right next to her. He's going to take her hand, hold it, and say, "Please, do not draw your bow."
She'll shake his hand off and move to Mara's side as close as she can get. They're distracted. Take the opportunity. We will come back. But if he falls, there is no more House Tarly. What was it all for?
She's really torn in this moment because Faye is making sense, but she also knows how important Leo is to this cause, and like as a hostage. And you know, there's a part of her that doesn't want to kill Greenmont men. These are her father's men. She still very much thinks of it that way. Faye, I can't let them take him. He's too important.
Yes, you can. He's one bargaining chip among dozens. And if your husband falls, it will be worthless anyway.
She looks around at the camp, and if she still can't see whoever's leading this force, or anybody that she might even recognize, that's kind of what she was hoping for, that whoever would be leading this small flank would be somebody that she knew, somebody whose name she would remember. We'll go. The woods. And she'll turn to her knights and direct everybody over to whether there would be horses here, because I imagine there are some left at the camp, especially if Samuel, had written notes just to run.
And as Faye will make sure that she's actually running along with them, like she's keeping that arrow nocked, and she's making sure that she comes with.
Mara would offer like her hand to Faye if Faye wanted to get up on the horse with her, so they can all move quicker.
Ooh, tricky. Is there a horse for Enzo?
There would be, yeah, but Mara would take them to wherever there are horses here. But like they have to get to them, I imagine, through the
I think
camp.
she will vault up on her own horse and look to him. Are you getting on? It will be quicker than on foot.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll jump on.
If there's enough
She's a
horses
way
for
better
Mara's
rider.
2 knights, she'll get them to mount up to. If not, Mara will happily share a saddle with one of them.
Yeah, you'll have
probably
to.
letting them take the reins because she can ride, but like if someone fires arrows, she can't control that horse. So, and I guess we'll make for the woods, somewhere that's like close enough by that we're not too far from the camp, that if the battle were to suddenly be over and the host came back, we could see them approaching, but not so close that somebody might try to follow us if they see us leaving.
Okay.
As they gallop away, Faye kind of leans back slightly against Enzo and goes, "See, isn't that better? Now we've got lots of knights."
Oh, this is so much worse. So much shit.
Mara would look over to Faye. She's probably on the back of the saddle of a horse now with one of her knights. And just she gives her that same kind of look that she gave her after the Valyrian steel incident with the bow. And it's that look of like, you were right. And this time there isn't any kind of like malice or annoyance in it. It is just, yeah, we had to get out of here.
Mm.
How many knights are with us?
2.
2. So her 2 knights. Did Sir Garth get out with me? Come on, give me Sir Garth.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. The sailors can stay. They probably pegged it the second the fight
The
started.
poor work experience boys have
The
all,
poor work experience boys probably ran.
have all been
No
lost.
cute suits.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
I would like everyone to roll me stealth, please.
Oh God.
Stealth, sneak,
Cool.
probably.
11. Hey.
Oh, 8. Okay, that's not as horrible as I thought it would be.
I'm going to put a bonus dice into this because otherwise this is going to be horrific.
Unfortunately, if these are the archers that I'm thinking they're going to be.
8.
Why have I got OBS up? I don't need that. 8, 8, and 11. Okay. So probably dragging the average up a little bit, Enzo. Do
Thanks.
some actual maths.
How is the flamboyant, instantly recognizable one better than either of us at sneaking?
The average is a 9, literally. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Okay. We'll leave it just there for now as you hide near the camp as best you can. Samuel, back to the battle. So you are riding towards the Knights of the Three Leaves, correct? And you want to make your way around the rear of the enemy line or the rear of your own line?
Let's see here. They're pushed. Are there any of my forces between me and the Knights of the Green Leaves or the Three Leaves?
Not really. Like, you're leading your flank on the right, and then there's this like central melee that's happening, which is all the Caswell, Merryweather, and Mullendore forces.
Yeah. I think probably the strategy here that he employs is the scouts move up and use crossbows and spears to try to strike at the cavalry from the distance and draw them as we circle around the back of the flank and try to hit the Oakheart forces, the Oakheart cavalry from behind.
Okay, so you lead this charge around the rear of the High Garden and Crowned Lands knights. You can see just off to your left a whole host of green banners, green tabards, all fighting for their home. And they are pushing the Caswell, the Merryweather, the Mullendore Central forces on your side further back up the hill, ever so slowly. And they are being flanked. They are being harassed by the Knights of the Three Leaves. And they're smashing into their left-hand side and then coming back around and then hitting them again. It's on that second kind of way in that you start actually kind of getting actually closer to them, and you're charging and you're driving your horse as quickly as you possibly can. And then another knight breaks from the central column and a lance comes swinging in your direction. Now I need to get the actual stat block up after being dramatic.
So I hadn't displayed this previously, but is this a knight that I recognize, or is this just a rando?
This knight is wearing the colours of House Oakheart.
Okay. So Samuel, as he's riding, Heartsbane in one hand, ready to switch it to two hands and swing, his helm, which was originally crafted as this sort of gilded bear-shaped helm, is melted from the wildfire of Summerhall. And so one of the ears is like melted down to the side of this helm. The visor is just slightly slanted from where the heat warped it. And the maw itself, the fangs on the right side of the mouth slit in the maw have fallen off. So it's just these two kind of warped, twisted fangs. And it's sort of hideous to look at. And I burned my last destiny point to take the sinister feat on sinister quality.
Yeah. What does that do?
It means stuff that I like. Hold on. It's really hard to read. Let me put it here. The first round any opponent engages me in combat or intrigue, they take -1 dice on all fighting and persuasion tests.
This is going to be good. Okay. This incoming lance is going to hit you with for 7 against your combat defense.
That'll be 1 degree of success.
Okay, so this is going to be 7 damage.
Okay.
Which you tank, I guess, with your plate. And so this hit it's a war lance hit, and it's a glancing hit, but it is like you're just back in the lists for like 3 seconds. Like, yeah. So this Oakheart knight comes in, and the lance, you manage to like swing and perhaps even parry ever so slightly as the sharp tip glances across one of your pauldrons and wins you a little bit. And normally, we'll get a little bit of Knight's Tale thrown in here. Normally, knights will avert their gaze at the last second kind of thing. This knight has a steely, purposeful gaze in trying to dismount you from this horse with his lance. And the armor, apart from the Oakheart tabard, looks like it could be any hedge knight. The pauldrons don't match the main suit, the main cuirass. The barding is pretty poor on the horse. It looks like they've kind of had their armor and arms put together fairly haphazardly, fairly quickly. But you definitely just in that last second, as his horse passes yours very closely, Alistair Oakheart's eyes looking into yours.
There's a moment when the lance hits him. It's a glancing blow. It doesn't hurt him, but it does almost knock him off of his barding, off of his saddle. And he swings to the side of the saddle. He grabs the reins and begins to pull himself back up, sword in hand. That's when he sees Alistair's face. And just very quietly through the maw of his helm, he mutters, "No." He steels himself for a moment. He's frozen for just a moment. Before they can pass, he considers what he's going to do. And in that moment of his hesitation, he can't bring himself to cut down Alistair here. Instead, as he swings himself back up on the horse, he is going to grip onto the long hilt of Heartsbane and swing it across his body. And I am going to try to remove the head of Alistair's horse and force him to fall to the ground.
Okay. I need to find horse stats. Hang on.
Roll for strength of neck.
Yeah. Okay. Horsies, creatures. What's this going to be? This is going to be like a Rouncy? Sure. Rouncies are a bit slower. Yeah, okay. Alright. Roll me an attack against the horse's combat defense then.
Wow. I rolled a total of 5 1s, so I got a 16.
Wow, okay.
I think that's appropriate for this moment.
Yeah. That is still, though, like 2 degrees of success.
Well, that's 20 damage.
Yeah, I think you cut into the majority of the neck of this horse before Heartsbane is turned, because as Alistair has come back round to then again, and it's almost like he's just trying to charge the horse into you. There's not even some kind of like clever plan of attack here. He's just coming in again, and so you cut down hard into this horse's neck before your Heartsbane is kind of turned away in your hands, and the horse tumbles over, and so does Alistair in the mud. He slams down into the ground.
He, like, for a moment, he wants to ride back. He wants to do so many things, but he can't, because there's the Oakheart Knights, and he's at the head of his cavalry. And so he calls back over his shoulder just briefly, his eyes seeing Alistair there in the mud. And he says, "Leave him live. Capture him if you must. Ride on." And he grits his teeth. He grips Heartsbane, and he prepares to bear down and ride on the rear of the Oakheart Knights as the scouts attack from the front.
Okay. Only a few of your knights remain with you as they circle, and they start to get caught up in some of the spearmen and some of the stragglers of the rear ranks of the enemy central units. And a couple have even encircled Alistair as well. As he's drawn his sword, you can just see, just glancing over your shoulder, as he's fighting them off. And so you and maybe 2 or 3 more of your own knights are charging against the counter, or so you're countering their charge as the Knights of the Three Leaves are coming in as well.
And the goal here is to try to hit him from behind as the scouts attack with crossbows and spears from the front.
Okay, I tell you what, roll me a warfare tactics check against their passive warfare.
I don't get to know what their passive is, right?
No.
Do I have any bonus dice?
In the frame, you have 1 bonus dice, yeah.
Yeah, tactics are like, okay, let's do this. I don't really know what the difference between, I never understood the difference between strategy and tactics.
Strategy, to my mind, strategy is like a
before the battle.
A whole battle. Tactics is like you trying to figure out the best thing for you and like your unit to do. Tactics is small, strategy is large, is how I think of it.
Okay.
Did you want to spend the bonus dice in your frame?
Yes.
Did you?
I spent the bonus dice.
Yeah. Then, oh my god. 11 against their passive means that you manage to flank them from the rear. So you time it just right where you peel off, and as they're actually charging into the Caswell forces, like that central column, you're swinging around from behind and then starting to attack them from their rear. So, why don't you personally give me another, like, Heartsbane attack?
Okay. I think, if it's possible, I think Samwell is, he'll cut through whoever he has to be able to do this. But Samwell himself, he's going after Sir Gawain. He's going after the leader of their forces.
Yeah. Okay. So, I need you then. Let's see how far you can like get into their forces with these attacks. So, like before, you attacking the unit, so it'll do damage ignoring their AR, and then what's it? Yeah, but it's your Heartsbane attack.
$29 with 2 6s.
4 degrees of success. 2 6s is like what crit as well. Jeez.
So
reduce the opponent unit's AR by 1 until repaired. Fuck. So yeah, you're just crunching through armor, right?
Yeah. He's cutting through, like he's coming up the rear of these knights, and as he does, he is being strategic about it. Like when he can reach with his greatsword a knight and cleave through the soft parts of their greaves, their armor, he will. But a lot of times he's running up behind and he's just cutting tendons of horses, bringing them down so they fall and hurt themselves and collapsing their armor. And letting the knights that are coming behind him kind of mop up and protect his 2 sides as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And this puts you square on with Sir Gawain Oakhart, as the Knights of the Three Leaves have pushed back the kind of left side of Caswell's forces a bit, and that is starting to make that whole central flank crumble a little bit from one corner as more and more Highgarden forces and Targaryen knights start to make their way up the hill that little bit more. But Sir Gawain rounds on you, recognizes you, and makes for you. So the 2 of you on horseback, I need you to roll me a agility quickness test.
Okay.
How do I not have Sir Gawain up? No, here he is. Okay, I do. This is where he's rubs, and I've completely forgotten what he's like.
22.
Okay. An 8. A 22? My God.
I rolled really well.
Actually, yeah, fair. That's like... Yeah, you're rolling a bit more than I am, but yeah. Okay, cool. So you take the first turn. What your this is like normal combat now. So what are your actions? You got a couple of actions, so a lesser, 2 lessers or a greater, and you can take 1 attack type action each turn.
Yeah, I think I'm going to spend all of my bonus die to make a brutal attack with Heartsbane. A 31.
Oh. That is 4 degrees of success.
So when I deal 2 degrees of success or more, it adds an extra wound. So with 4 degrees, that's 40 damage, which is probably a wound, and then a second wound on top of that.
Okay, so he's going to take 2 wounds then. What do these look like?
Yeah, so he bellows Gwain's name over the roar of the battlefield, the thunder of horses. He is a patient man, Samwell, but he doesn't forget when someone has slighted him. And even more so because Alistair just attacked him, knowing that Alistair it might be lost to him. He's just feeling incredibly enraged and empowered in this moment as he cleaves through the other knights approaching Gwain. And as he roars out Gwain's name, is he wielding a sword, lance? What's he wielding?
So he is wielding. Let's have a quick look. He's wielding a bastard sword and shield.
Samwell charges towards him and turns his horse at the last moment. And as he does, he reverses the grip on Heartsbane and swings it around in an arc in such a way that's outward. He's aiming to take off Gwain at the hand, at the wrist. That's what he's aiming to do. And
that slashes all along up his arm, and you can see the blood spray out as you drive that blow past him. He manages to deflect it at the last moment, although it does loosen off a couple of straps from his armor, from his Castle Forged mail, and there's various bits of plate that are on top of that mail, but a few of the rings go flying as well, as the Valyrian steel even cuts through some of that. And so you hear him cry out in pain as he circles his horse round towards you, and is going to.
I'll have Sinister in this moment too. So I think he's losing like 3 dice from this roll.
Yeah. First of all, he's going to try and maneuver you to try and get the kind of upper hand in where he is. But yeah, so this is a fighting test against your passive fighting.
Okay.
So the smaller number. And he's going to do this with long blades, but he is going to take another penalty dice to that, and that should have rolled, a 10 against your passive fighting, which definitely isn't going to meet it. And so he tries to maneuver against you, tries to kind of move the horses around into an advantageous position, but you kind of square off against him and you're meeting him in that kind of strange dance, almost kind of equestrian, sportsman-like, before he then tries to make an attack with his long blade anyway. Just in one hand, rolls a 14 against your combat defense.
That'll be 2 degrees of success.
Okay, so he is going to deal. Is that going to tell me what it is? 5 damage.
And I want to say
so 10 damage in total.
So my armor will soak that.
Yeah.
And I think Sam was trying to do that thing where he shifts his body just enough that he can catch his arm as it's coming in with a sword against his armor and kind of trap his blade against his plate mail.
Sure, yeah, and you wrestle there with that. And then maybe unlock again before coming in for a second bout. What's your next turn look like?
I am... How wounded does he look?
I mean, he looks pretty wounded. He is leaning to the side into where you've cut him, and you can see blood pooling down his leg.
I am going to aim and cautious attack.
Okay. So that
this will
aim will
be-
give you the +1 bonus dice.
So I
and
gain
the
a bonus
cautious
dice, but I lose a
test
lose a
die.
die.
Yeah, so you'll get a penalty dice from that. And so yeah, the cautious attack, but will then also give you +3 combat defense until the start of your next turn.
I'm not charging. We're locked in. 27 with 2 6s.
Ooh. Is another 4 degrees of success.
That'd be 40 damage.
And so does the same condition apply?
No, I didn't brutal attack this time.
Okay.
I went for cautious so that I could boost my combat defense.
He is going to take a final wound.
Okay.
And now that he sees the Knights of the Three Leaves have, been entirely disorganized now by the fire that's coming down from your archers from across the flanks, and they're now just kind of like mixed in, or if they've been dismounted, they're now mixed in with the fight that's happening in the central column. And so he throws down his arms and he holds up his hands to yield.
So yeah, I think like they collapse, like when they connect, he tries to cut him underneath the armor of his underarms, maybe like to get a tendon or make it so he can't use his sword anymore. And when he throws up his arms to yield, he says, "Order your men to stand down, Queen."
He looks at you, but he doesn't give the order. There's around you, there is kind of like effectively no unit to command, you notice, but he is absolutely doing it out of some kind of spite or forcefulness.
Take his head.
Okay. And you cleave the man's head off of his shoulders, and he falls off his horse onto the ground, his body squelching into the mud and the blood pooling around his horse's hooves as it scatters back behind the enemy lines.
He pulls his horse around so he can survey the surrounding battlefield in 360 and get a sense of where the units are. Where is Baelor?
You are close now to the central flank, where the large Highgarden force and the Crownland Knights have met the Caswells, the Merryweathers, and the Mullendors. They've been pushing them back as you've been fighting, slowly back up that hill. And effectively the flank that you are now on, and with your knights kind of a bit scattered, a bit more disorganized, and kind of fighting a little bit of the rear of the Highgarden units, this flank is effectively lost for your side. And so it's the whole battle is being pushed now kind of from where you are closer and angling towards your forces, who are effectively now forming more of a kind of rear guard than what they were before on the actual van. And now you can actually start to see that your central column, your central forces, have actually started to rout. So they're starting to peel off from where you are, from their left side, and now they're starting to like flake away basically from the force of the Highgarden advance up the hill towards the central but rear of the whole makeup of those units. You can make Baelor in his black Targaryen armor, with that, very ornate 3-dragon headed helm. And you can see as well Sir Gawain Corbray, his Kingsguard knight, at his side on horseback as well. And they're not at the front. They're not really attacking people. They're not, hitting from the front. They are just like staying back, staying steady, keeping an eye out. And it's very evident that he has got a better command and a better idea of his tactics and what he's doing. Whereas you look over, you glance over that Harris, and you can see that he is just, left and right trying to, make the best of a bad situation.
So are you telling me that we're losing overall? Like
you are losing. Looking at this battlefield now and kind of what you know and what you've read of military tactics, you could mount a counterattack with your forces, but the sheer number that you're outweighed by, as your central column is starting to rout, it would effectively be kind of a counterattack, but then it's kind of almost just attrition wise that you would slowly be overwhelmed.
My forces still kind of have the high ground because most of them haven't come forward yet.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Is Gregor with me? Is he fighting in this battle? My squire?
You look around for Gregor, and on a courser behind you, he rides up. And there's like a little bit of like vomit dripping out his gorget, and from the eyes from behind his visor, they're wide, and you can see that he hasn't quite got control of this horse.
So he's not doing well. Okay. That changes Samwell's plans. Okay. So Samwell, in that moment, when there's a break in the battle, at least where they are, he rides in close to Gregor and he reaches out a hand for his shoulder plate, and he pushes his head forward so their helms rattle against each other, and he says, "Ride back to the archers, ride to the top of the hill. Tell them we will not be advancing with a van. Hold their ground. Make Harris send his forces forward. We will not be taking the small lord's orders today."
And he just kind of nods and breathes heavily from behind his helm. And then
Speak for me, Gregor. You lead the men defensively. I'm riding on. We're going to kill a dragon.
And then he rides as quickly as he can back around the rear flank of the enemy forces. There's a few Highgarden spearmen and foot soldiers that try and harass him on the way past. And where the cranes still have a few archers, you can see that, they're firing towards the, rear and trying to pick off maybe a few cavalry or knights who have managed to make their way from round where your flank is and in that loop that you did back around to their location.
So how many, because I know we've done the number to their archers, or there's still a lot of archers left that if I took my knights and I rode around, and instead of where all the forces are, because Baelor's got like a small group around him and he's kind of separate from the battle, right?
No, he's a few ranks back, but he is in the kind of central column.
All right, what would it take for me to get to him?
You would have to attack his knights, probably the Crownlands kind of hedge knights and knights that he originally gathered here.
Okay, and does that make me vulnerable to archers?
Potentially, yeah. But I don't know that they're gonna pick you off or pick you out in a crowd too closely. I think the challenge here is more about the knights and getting to Baelor.
Yeah. Basic numbers. How much does his knights outnumber my knights?
Yours, I'd say, are now disorganized, but in terms of unit strength, they're probably about the same.
Okay. All right. So he'll take a moment to reorganize his knights as well as he can and order the charge on the Crownlands Knights to drive a wedge formation straight into the heart of their knights, trying to hit them if they can from the side. The goal is to open up a path to Baelor Targaryen.
Okay. And you can try and reorganize, I think.
Oh yeah, there is like a move for it, right? I don't know if I've ever used
Rally.
this. Maybe I have.
Yeah.
Rally.
Successful order organizes a unit or stops it from routing, and it becomes disorganized, though their +3 discipline increase remains in effect. Okay, yeah.
So what do I roll here? I'm looking for this. Where is this?
So this will be a warfare command roll.
Warfare command. And what's the DC?
It will be yeah.
Is it their? It's their current discipline, right?
Yes. So their current discipline +3 because they became disorganized.
+3 because they're disorganized. Okay. So this. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. So this is a DC 3. I got a 10.
Cool. All right, let's take it. And they, so they reorganize, and so you can lead effectively a rearguard attack against the Crownlands Knights that have assembled around Prince Baelor.
Okay.
All right. So let's roll their attacks then, as they try and defend. So you're going to get a +1 keep dice from attacking them from the rear. And I need to just have a look at what their counterattack looks like.
I want to spend one of my 2 glory points to give myself a second keep dice.
Okay. Sure thing.
$17 with 1/6.
17 with 1/6 against their combat defense. Is that really their combat defense? I guess it is.
Have like depressingly low combat defense.
It's like a 2.
Yeah.
So that is going to be 3 degrees of success, and it is, of course, double. So we're going to ignore 1 AR as well.
Is that 3 or 4 degrees?
3. If it's 2, then it's 15 remaining, so it's 5, 10, 15, 3 degrees, right?
4 degrees.
4?
Yeah.
I think that doesn't that make it 4?
4 degrees.
Up to 5.
Yeah, so it would be 2 would be a success, 7 would be 2 degrees of success, 12 would be 3, 17 would be 4. Yeah.
And a 14 is going to be 3 degrees versus us versus my forces.
Okay.
That's going to be 24 damage to them.
Okay. They're going to become disorganized. And what did you say were the damage for, or the degrees of success for me? Sorry.
It's, let's see here. I think it's 3, but there's
14.
14 should be 3.
3 degrees.
3 degrees.
So that is going to be 21 damage.
Okay. 21 damage. Oh, they're tough. My side have to disorganize as well?
If you want to ignore the damage, disorganize for a second time and get a.
When you say
plus...
21?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to disorganize.
Okay.
It's just enough.
Let's see what I had in here for characters. When a unit takes damage, an individual character when attached to units that take damage, characters take 1 damage per degree of success, ignoring their AR. So you take 3 damage to your health.
Okay.
Ignoring AR, as you clash, as they start to wheel their horses around and start to almost, a couple of them countercharge, but most of them try and hold their ground and try and form up around the prince, and so the horses kind of bump into each other. So rather than that like cavalry charge over people, which is the norm, you're all bunched up now and crashing into each other, and so you're gonna take some damage from just being winded and having to really kind of defend yourself from their counterattacks. Okay, so it's just a square fight now, I think. So we just, unless you've got any fancy maneuvering, just fight off. I'm gonna roll a fighting test to see if they can break your unit.
Yes, yeah, because I just want to break through to Baelor.
Yeah.
And if they've grouped up and like our forces haven't broken through yet, this is cheeky.
It's a mix at the moment.
Can Samwell pull back just a little bit from the front line where they're connecting, sheathe his greatsword, and pull his bow out?
Yeah.
And knock an arrow and take a shot at Baelor?
Yeah, you can, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm going to do something cheeky back, but absolutely.
That's fine. Yeah. I love it. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's what I want to do with Samwell. So he's falling back from the fighting for just a moment and let the 2 groups of knights duke it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So. Oh. We'll aim. Pretty low. An 18.
Oh. It's so technically you meet the difficulty I just rolled. So as you draw and fire, so Gwen Corbray turns and sees you at the last second, raising his shield as far as he can over the prince, and you both score an 18. So that arrow goes straight through his shield. Even the beautiful white painted, almost the kind of like slightly enameled like front. And what's the damage?
How many degrees of success is that?
It's literally just 1. You literally just met the difficulty.
7 damage.
Okay. Wow. Okay. He tanks that. And so, yeah, it pierces through his shield, and he now has, like, literally halfway dug in an arrow sticking out of the of his shield. I mean, look, you can go in if you want. I mean, you'll be surrounded by Crownland Knights and Sir Gawain and the Prince.
Yeah, no, not yet, right? Like he wants his knights to continue to batter through, try to create an opening for him. Okay. If it's just Corbray and Baelor, he might consider it, but he's not suicidal.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so as a kind of standing order then, as you're focused on trying to shoot the prince, let's have your cavalry make another attack roll, and I'll do the same. Okay. And then this is just them
close enough now that this is just a fighting roll.
Yeah, this is just them.
It's not a lance roll anymore.
That's right. Yeah, this is just them duking it out because like now they're kind of on their standing orders to just smack each other until someone loses.
And when they're disorganized, does that mean both of our sides lose die as well?
Oh, no, it doesn't. Okay, so actually, now with a +6, what's your or what is their discipline?
Yeah, he's bellowed out like to get to the prince. So their order is to fight their way through these knights.
Actually, yeah, like it's a standing order. Yeah, they'll just keep fighting basically. Okay. Just need to find the cavalry again. Okay. A 19 for me.
19 for me.
Oh, okay. So that is going to be another 4 degrees.
So does that mean they're both routing now?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Samwell this time knocks another arrow, and this time instead of targeting Baelor Targaryen, he turns his sights on Corbray. At the last moment, he turns his sights on Corbray, so it looks like he's taking another shot at the prince, and he's going to try to put one right through this man's visor.
Okay. Make me the roll.
A 20 with a 6.
A 20 is going to be 3 degrees of success.
So that's ignore 1 armor and 21 damage.
21 damage. What is that? The stats? Okay. He's going to take an injury. Reducing that to that. He's going to take a second injury. This doesn't go like into his visor, but it certainly like sticks into his shoulder as he turns at the last second. Okay. It's got a lot of those. And now that they're routing around you, but so then your cavalry is trying to withdraw back as well. So it's just a mess of cavalry and men trying to, get out of the way. He is going to try and charge you down on the horse.
Okay.
And you see, as he draws his longsword, you see that familiar glint of Valyrian steel.
Okay.
As he wields Lady Forlorn, canonically, and charges towards you on horseback. So this is going to be a charge, which means that I take a penalty die but get +2 damage, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Charge.
Loses a second penalty because of Sinister.
That was in the first round of combat.
That's true. Yeah, he got shot, so that's
he did get shot.
Yeah,
he took some damage. Okay. Yikes.
Let's do it.
Did I say a penalty die? Yes, because of the +2 damage. 14 against your combat defense.
So this is the Kingsguard, right?
Yeah.
I will enact Anointed to give myself +5 to my combat defense this round.
And so will I, to get +5 to my attack roll.
Okay. That's 2 degrees of success.
Because you always hit me with that. And now I've got an anointed knight.
Yeah. He's like, is his reputation, he's pretty honorable, right? Like, he's a well-respected knight.
Susie and I were looking at him. I don't think there were many notes about him. Just apart from that he wields this sword. Because it's they're again, an ancestral sword of the families or something that's on loan to the Kingsguard. He's fairly honorable. So yeah, so you both take your knightly duties to heart in this second, and as he tries to charge you down. 2 degrees, did you say?
It's 2 degrees, yeah.
So what did I end up? I'm just going to roll this quickly, my macro, so that I so another 2, 8, so it's 16 damage.
Okay. Let's knock this off here. All right. I can soak some of that. Okay. That's a cool macro.
Thanks. It's not going to work anymore because he's taken some injuries, so let's just take that off then. He's not got any penalty die at the moment. Okay, cool. And your turn then, as he tried to charge you down. What does your defense look like?
So he's charging with a longsword, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Samuel sees the charge and he does what he can to swing the bow back over his shoulder and draw his blade. And his defense is more of an offense, right? He kicks the side of his horse, so his horse juts forward at the last moment, maybe partially trying to throw off his swing, the aim of his swing just a little bit, or make sure it connects on the outside of his body, so it's not a potential like lethal blow. But he's just leaning into an all-out attack on his part.
Okay. And so is that your next turn then? The an all-out attack?
Yeah.
Is this a reckless attack?
This is a brutal attack.
Oh, okay. Yep. Sacrificing the bonus die. Okay.
An 18.
Is 2 degrees of success.
So that'll be 20 damage and at least 1 wound, 2 wounds if he has to take another wound.
Okay. He does take 2 wounds, and you cut into his armor.
Yeah, I think, and he gets me too. Like I'm probably bleeding at this point. There's a moment where like the blades briefly, the 2 Valyrian steel swords ring out, glinting in the sunlight. Mine's covered in blood already. And when he cuts into me, that's when I shove forward and I just try to give him what he gives me, but harder. See if I can knock him off his horse. I'm just basically battering him with my greatsword.
Okay. And then, so that is you take the kind of like roughly the first action at the top of the round. Then he is going to come in and he is going to do his. I just need to check this macro quickly. I'm going to take this off. So we are going to sacrifice some bonus die for Longblade Fighter 1. Oh, good God. What did I just do? I just moved the chat into a different window, so now we can't see the results.
Oh, no.
How do I move it back? Don, you know Roll20. Just refresh it.
Roll20.
Just refresh it. Okay.
That's always my solution.
Okay. I'll just refresh it. It's fine. Sorry. Technical issues. Okay. That roll was a 16. Oh my God, I'm rolling so many ones. Yeah, that's with his... Oh no, sorry. That is going to be then 14 because I rolled so badly.
So that'll just be 2 degrees of success.
Okay, 3 degrees because he gets an additional degree for sacrificing his bonus dice. So that is going to be 18 damage.
I will take 1 injury.
Okay. And I realised that all I did was attack, which is dumb because that's tend to be what I always do. So he is going to try and maneuver you, I guess, to try and gain the upper hand a little bit. It's my classic. There's a Knight's Guard, maybe a King's Guard. And this is going to be fighting against your passive fighting. 16. It's not going to do it, is it?
No.
No. Okay. Because of these damn wounds. Okay.
All right.
And it's not quite your turn yet, as the prince charges in, seeing an opportunity as you fight his Kingsguard protector. Baelor Break Spear. is going to, having suffered a bit from the rout, grab his war lance as best he can and attack with a charge. 13 against your combat defense.
That'll be 2 degrees of success.
And 2 degrees on the war lance will be just 4. You say 2 degrees?
Yeah.
It's gonna be 16 more damage.
Okay, I will take another injury. All right. Poof.
And so it is now your turn, and you are now toe to toe with both Sir Gawain and Prince Baelor.
Yeah, it's time. All right. I have to do this round, or else it gets a lot more dicey. So I'm going to burn my last point of glory. I'm going to attack Prince Baelor. So I'm spending it to get an extra keep die.
Yep.
A 23 with a 6.
23. Let me write out his degrees of success, because then it will help me. Is 3 degrees of success.
Okay. That's going to be 30 damage and an extra wound.
Okay. He takes 2 wounds. And he begins to turn away from you. You having cut into him again, like across into the abdomen, into the side, almost probably striking a kidney, and you can see the blood then poured down the back of his horse as he turns.
I think like when he hits me with the war lance on his charge, I'm kind of turned to my side. It pushes me back. Like I would be dismounted from my horse, but I catch my boot in the stirrup. I catch my boot just barely, and I pull myself back up, and I don't have a lot of time. I see Corbre's right here, and he's wounded, but he's not defeated. But before the prince gets out of my range, I just have enough time to not swing my sword like it's a club. And this time I drive it straight into his side, and I manage to pierce through that armor. I can see the prince's blood on my blade when I pull it out. And then I try quickly to turn myself because I know what's coming next from Corbray.
Yeah, absolutely. And Corbray then is going to aim and then attack. So we'll add a bonus dice to this. Can I just check the wounds? I think I added the wounds in right. No, he's got 2 wounds, and that was the 3 bonus dice. So we're going to have to take a 4 and a 3 off of that. So 21. Yeah.
20.
A 20. Well, no, not a 20. I'm going to say it's a reckless attack too, so it's going to give him what, +1 dice.
Okay.
Because he's just like his, prince has just been stabbed. So
yeah,
gain a +1 dice on your fighting test, exchange for -5 to your combat defense. So let's keep one of those at least. So if we take off the 3, it's actually 25.
I I will. Let's see. I'll take a wound.
Okay.
And as he's coming in at me, is Baelor retreating?
Yeah, Baelor is actually retreating. He's now trying to rejoin one of the stronger parts of his flank.
Okay.
You've been gifted a couple of bonus dice from chat.
Hey, thanks, chat. Can I reach? Can I run down Baelor and attack him, or is he getting away at this point? I need to finish off Corbray first.
You could, like, I don't think there are actually any kind of, sticky attack of opportunity style rules for this combat. So, yeah, I think you could try and run Baelor down.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all for naught. Slaying a Kingsguard is nice, but it's all for naught if Baelor gets away. And so after Corbray comes in again, he cuts through the plate of my armor, and I can feel my ragged breath. My eyes are a little bit dizzy. I shove him back just enough to create some space between us. In that moment, I'm thinking about the 3 letters I sent this morning. All 3 of them feel so far away now. And maybe all 3 of them were foolish. Maybe all 3 of the letters that I sent were falling on deaf ears. And so for a moment, he's pulled back to the drama of his personal life, his ambitions, his aspirations, his dream of being the lord of his house, and the Reach, what it could be in his mind. But none of that matters when he sees Baelor riding away. He leans forward on his horse, feeling weaker than before, and he kicks it hard, and he rides as hard as he can at Baelor's back.
Okay, this is going to have to be a charge, I think, to keep up with him. Rules-wise, he moves, but then he could move... Well, he sprints, so he moves up to 4 times.
Yeah.
The horse's speed.
So charge means I have a penalty die, right?
Yeah, but +2. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Sorry, no. You know what I'm going to do? Is I'm going to have the 2 of you roll animal handling, ride. If you manage to equal or beat him, you can catch up with him.
All right. Well, he has more wounds than I do, but he's probably a better horseman than I am. And do I have any bonus or test die?
You have been donated 1 test die from V and 2 bonus dice from chat. Pay to win here after the fire.
Yeah, I feel bad doing this. You know what? I'm going to save it. And
Pope just gave you a test die too, I guess.
All right, I'll use a test die. I'll use 1 test die. Thanks, Pope.
Oh no, it's for me. It was for me.
Well, thanks anyways, Pope.
Thanks, Pope.
Yeah, if you're not using any test die, then I'll save mine for now.
Okay,
let's roll off. See what the dice tell us in this
see what Roll20 tells us.
So I have 1 penalty die from my wound. Bonus die for ride. 1 penalty die. An 8.
Oh, okay. So where's some spearmen? Let's have some trained spearmen. Where are you? Here we go. Now there is a try and rip you off your horse action, right? Where is it? I swear that's in the book. Hang on.
I feel like you're right. I don't think it's in our cheat sheet though.
No, I don't think so either. It might be in like the advanced, like pulling a pull a rider from a mount. Okay. In addition to a straight up attack, you can also try and pull a rider from a mount. Do so if you're armed with a grab weapon or a polearm. Yeah, spearman. Roll a fighting test against your opponent's passive animal handling result. Ride applies. So you can add your bonus dice to the passive animal handling to ride. If you equal or beat the difficulty, you pull your opponent from his mount. He lands prone on the ground adjacent to his steed. Okay, they're going to roll their speary attacks. Is your animal handling an 8? Passive 8?
No, it's higher than that.
Okay, cool. So there is, a spearman or two that try and skewer you from the back of your horse as you're riding up to Baelor. And but so Baelor manages to kind of wheel round and like get back in the attach himself to like the unit, get himself embedded in the unit of spearmen. That have now started to form a bit more of a round. They've actually, they're very aware of who the prince is and where he's riding, and so they've like created their own little shield wall just in a corner of their flank. But by now, your own not the Tarleys, but your own forces, Harris's forces, have certainly begun to like peel back entirely, and so now the Targaryen advance is making their way up the hill, and they're starting to turn. They're starting to wheel round towards the Tarley forces as well. Would you think you would have said to the siege weapon masters to like keep firing regardless?
Yeah.
What would their instinct be seeing what's happening, do you think?
The siege masters their orders are to protect their high position on the hill, and punish any forces that are trying to march up the hill.
Okay.
So instead of going down and engaging with the vanguard, they're holding their position and trying to win against a battle of numbers from a better position instead of just charging forward.
Okay. So scorpion bolts narrowly miss you and some of your fellow knights. There's maybe a couple of them that have stuck around vaguely around the rear of the enemy flank. Narrowly missing your kind of melee with Baelor and with Sir Gawain. It arcs over you, smashing into the ground, and that seems to be keeping the Targaryen forces at bay a little bit, and might even kind of like do them in after a while, after some attrition. But now you potentially have Sir Gawain coming up behind you, and now you effectively got this unit of infantry that again you have to try and get through in order to get to Baelor. So what would you like to do?
And how many forces do I have around me? My own?
None of your own. They're just off to your kind of a little bit to your left, further away up that hill, still keeping their formation, still keeping their flank.
How many spearmen?
2 dozen. In front of you, 2 dozen. There's got to be a few hundred men in this big flank, in this column that is fighting up the hill.
Okay. Samwell turns away from the shield wall, sheaths his sword, and he is going to begin riding away because he can't reach Baelor now, not yet. He's going to begin riding away, but he's not going to come out of this without some kind of victory. He's going to draw his bow and turn his horse and try to catch the Kingsguard, catch Corbray with an arrow, see if he can finish him off.
Okay. Roll me that attack then.
Okay. Let's see. So I have a wound. I'm gonna aim. So 9. This is actually going to be -2. That's fine. A 17 with 1/6.
A 17 is 2 degrees of success, and it's not double.
Okay. Oh, because he has a shield, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That'll be 14 damage.
Okay. Okay. The arrow whistles past him as he tries to charge you down, and will make that attack. No bonus. Actually, I'm going to spend that test die that
Okay.
Pope gifted me. I haven't spent dice in so long. So let's put this up here. And long blades. A penalty dice for charging.
And then
21.
2 for his wounds.
Yeah. 3 6s and a 5.
Yikes. Let's see. That is going to be 4 degrees of success. And it is a crit.
What did I roll? 3 6s. A bloody wound. You take an injury. If you cannot take an injury, you take a wound.
Okay.
You just take an injury.
I do, for sure.
And then what? Lady Forlorn is 6 damage. +2 for the modifier. Really? We calculated differently, I'm sure. I think it was 6 base damage, so it would be 8 normally. So 32 damage.
It's definitely another wound.
You still up?
Oh, yeah. I'm up.
Oh. Okay. Well, those spearmen have something to say about that, I'm sure. So they're coming in. They will just have their 3 fighting. Oh my god. Please, game, stop. 14 against your combat defense.
It'd be 2 degrees
Oh wait,
of success.
they have 2 test die in addition to that because they're attacking you as a unit, as a sole person. It's gonna be another. So it's 22 fighting in total.
Okay. I mean, that's 4 degrees of success.
So this, flank of men that have now formed up in front of Baelor rush forward, having seen the exchange happen between them. Their prince retreat behind them, and they rush forward and try and take you on your horse. And with 4 degrees, they're just going to do 12 damage.
Okay. Phew. They don't hit as hard as him.
No, they're not as chunky, but they unless I made it different in the warfare thingies. Units attacking. Characters taking damage from units. Yeah, they just have +2 dice on their test. Yeah, so that they deal 12 damage. And it's your turn.
All right. So Samuel pulls away and begins to ride away from the spearmen once Baelor's safe, but he slows down enough because of his pride, and he takes the shot that misses Corbray as Corbray charges in, drives his sword into his side again. And Samuel, probably like one of his lungs are punctured at this point, and he can't really breathe. He feels like he's on fire on the inside. And then as he tries to pull his horse around to try to figure out what to do, and he drops his bow out of his hands into the crowd, he sees these spearmen all around jabbing upward with their spears. And, it's glancing off of his armor, and probably like cutting into his horse as well. So his horse is probably kicking up into the air a little bit. He reaches, kind of fumbles a little bit for the first time for the hilt of Heartsbane. And he does a full circle on his horse, squares off against Corbray, and he draws the blade. And as he draws it, he's swinging it with the draw. So he pulls it up. It's a long blade, and he's just trying to bring it back down to drive it through Corbray's neck.
Okay. Roll me that attack.
I will use that test die now, I think.
It's only fair.
That's wise. Let's see. And I have... Let's see. Reckless. Five. 19.
19 is 2 degrees of success.
So this will be brutal attack, so 1 wound and then 20 damage.
Okay.
Versus Corbray.
1 wound. An injury. How much damage did you say it was?
It's 20. So I think he has 2 wounds and 2 injuries.
Okay.
And then this will be 3 wounds and then whatever that damage is.
Oh god, I wrote that, not that. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so he takes an injury as he turns at the last minute, and he you manage to catch him still on the shoulder. It would have cut into his neck if you'd had more power, but he manages to deflect the blow away. He is going to... I think... try to disarm you. Actually, that's probably not a great idea now that you both got loads of wounds, and he has to beat your passive fighting by 2 degrees.
3 penalty die right now.
Yeah, that's
Minus
not really going to work. All right, he's going to aim, and then he is going to attack. $14 against your combat defense.
That'll be 2 degrees of success.
And so that will be 12 damage.
I take my last injury that I can take.
Oof. Okay. And the spearman. Hit you for a 12.
That'll be 2 degrees of success.
That is with their +2 dice, Tom. They roll 2 1s, 2 2s, and a 6. Roll 20 giveth, and it take it away. 2 degrees will do you 6 damage, not actually hurting you, I don't think.
Yeah, So they're just trading these massive blows back and forth on their horses, and the horses keep spinning around, and spears keep coming up and breaking off of Samuel as he's back swinging from his own attacks. He's constantly cutting downward to try to deflect spears and encourage spearmen to fall back. So he's trying to create enough space for him that he can focus on Corbray with every turn.
Yeah. And then we're so with your that all done, it's your turn.
Oh gosh. Okay. All right. So he has 3 wounds and 3 injuries. Yeah, let's do it. I have no idea how much punishment this guy can take, but it seems like it's comparable to my own amount of punishment. Come on, roll 20. That is a 21 or 22. No, 21.
21. Any penalty dice in there?
Oh yeah, there is. Sorry,
because you just rolled 66.
I just out of. It should be 21, 17.
17's 2 degrees of success.
So that would be 20 damage and another wound.
Okay. Okay. So Gawain barely looks like he is able to stay on his horse. You are inflicting wounds, crashing down on him, cutting into him. He is bleeding from several places, but he still manages to kick his horse up to meet yours. And he takes one last reckless attack to try and defeat you. So let's make this. And I'm going to spend the bonus die I have in chat. It's going to deal 12. A 6, a 5, and a 5. That's how many dice we're keeping now.
Oof. That is 2 degrees of success.
So that is going to be 12 damage.
I take my last wound.
Does it equal your endurance? Or is that still within your things? Okay. And the infantry. Still trying. Oh no, you kind of tried to put some space between you and the infantry. What do I think? Let's make this about the 2 of you. Okay, your turn.
Okay. I am going to. Do I have bonus dice?
You have 2 bonus die in chat.
Okay. So this is going to be keep 3. Spend. Spain. Keep 3. Spend them both.
Okay.
I'll do this. Yeah. Cautiously.
Okay.
15 with 3 6s.
It's 2 degrees of success.
That is 20 damage.
And you defeat Sir Gawain.
Okay. So, like, they're battering each other with their swords, their Valyrian steel swords, and he's swinging back at the spearman, trying to spin around his horse. And what I think for Samuel, like, he's barely able to stay up on his horse. He can't catch his breath. The black at the corner of his eyes are starting to eat their way inward. He can barely see what's left of Corbray sitting in front of him, and he sees the glint, just a glint of sunlight off of Corbray's blade. And I think what he does is he hooks the hilt of his greatsword and tries to capture his blade on the edge of his own sword. And he's going to reach out with Corbray's to Corbray's wrist, and he is going to try to drive both his sword, take his sword from him and drive his sword and his own sword through Corbray's midsection and chest, so that when he defeats Corbray, he's going to pull back and hold 2 Valyrian steel swords, one in either hand.
All right.
And then he's going to try to ride off and flee and survive these spearmen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You ride off. You try. Cool. Okay. I do want to finish up tonight with Mara. And so the 3 of you can hear now, off in the distance, the soldiers from your side starting to you start seeing the first of the routing men. So you start hearing them first, screaming, crying out, gasping for breath. They've sprinted up this hill. And a few of them you can see, again, kind of make for the camp and then start to get cut down by the Hollow Hearts that are still in camp. And they have started now to move off. And the 3 of you do manage to see that Lord Leo, now free of his chains, being walked by the Hollow Hearts back towards the fight. And, as that flank of probably a good, 50 or so, armored knights, and about the same in terms of archers kind of making their way as a whole unit down the hill. These poor routing men haven't got a chance if they meet them. Those that scatter just do so one by one off towards the river, or back, east along the shoreline. What do you guys do?
I think Mara watching this, she probably hasn't gotten down from the horse that she's on. And there's a little bit of her that wants to do the really stupid thing and ride out there and try to warn them, but she knows that that's not going to do anything. They're not going to listen. They're probably not even going to realize that someone's trying to warn them, because that's what panic does. I think she kind of fixes her eyes on any other part of the battle that she can see, and that she knows she's too far away to be able to pick Samuel out in that mass of people, but it doesn't stop her trying. And she can't look at Faye, she can't look at Enzo, she doesn't speak to anybody. She's just trying to quell this panic that's rising in her chest as she watches this go on.
And what do the other 2 of you do?
Do I?
Oh, sorry, go for it.
No, you go ahead. You go first.
Faye will be on the horse, kind of just keeping Mara within her peripheral vision in case she goes to race
Mara's
off.
not at the reins. I think one of her knights is at the reins of her horse. She's in the back, so she can't run off.
Yeah, I think she's well aware that this guy will do whatever Mara tells him to do. So she's just keeping an eye on it, because she makes good her promises. If this one's going off, then she is too. But she's just staring out at the battlefield. Similar kind of expression, I think. Just trying not to imagine it, but she can't help it. This is possibly worse than how her father and her brothers died, and she's just trying not to think about that last moment of eye contact, and reaches slightly to her side and behind herself. And if Enzo's hand is there, she'll knit her fingers with his and just silently stare out at the battlefield.
Mara at one point will just, if she can kind of hear Faye moving around as the horse kind of bucks with the movement, she'll look over to Faye, whether or not Faye's looking back. But she has a moment of just looking at Faye and both being grateful and very confused and just heartbroken at the same time.
Sam, could I do an awareness check to see if I can see Sam well?
Sure, awareness notice for me. It's going to be difficulty 21. They're like...
That's fine.
A good way out.
Ah, that one time where I'm going to roll crap. No, that would only be 16.
You don't see them, I'm afraid.
Okay. He's going to wait a little bit. Give him a bit of time. He's going to... I think it is time we should move on. We should leave this place.
And Mara's still staring as she hears these words, and it takes her a second for them to kind of process. And without even looking over at Enzo or Faye, she just goes, "Go. Go, I'm waiting here." And just keeps looking out ahead.
Enzo's just going to look at Faye pleading. That pleading look.
He's not even going to turn around. Eyes straight forward. She's still holding your hand. But you've run before, and she's made it quite clear what she wants to do.
Mara will reach out as they're kind of side by side, leaning kind of forward into the night that's in front of her, and put her hand on Faye's forearm if she can reach it, or her shoulder, to get her attention. Go. Go back to Golden Grove, go back to your people where they need you. If this is it, if this is over here and now, they're going to need you there. Go.
If this is over, then they will still have me.
You haven't done anything wrong.
I know.
Take Enzo, go back to Golden Grove. I will wait here, I promise you. If he comes back out of whatever is happening out there, I will make sure that you know. And if he doesn't, I will make sure that you know.
You're really that keen to be rid of me? After everything?
I never hated you, Faye. But I know that you hate me, and I do not expect you to stand here by my side, whatever comes next. I wouldn't ask that of you. And
You don't need to. That's what you do for the dead. You respect their wishes.
If this is over here, there is nothing you can do for me.
I would have thought by now you'd learn not to underestimate me, Lady Mara.
She kind of smiles at that. I don't. But I took you hostage.
Well, then you can spend the rest of your life making it up to me, can't you?
I won't leave here, Faye. I will wait here. And if that army marches up that pass, I will wait here to make sure that he's not marching with them.
As you wish.
She kind of squeezes Faye's forearm just a little bit.
She won't do anything back, but just slight nod and then look back out onto the battlefield.
She lets go after just a moment and then is back. And there's a little bit of her that in this moment is afraid. And with this strange accord that seems to have happened between her and Faye in this moment, she just takes the moment of like sinking into the night in front of her, taking some comfort in that cold armor that she can feel, something that's tangible and real and something that makes her feel safe, and just keeps watching, waiting to see who comes up the ridge from the tree line.
Enzo will kind of like whisper into Faye's ear, "You're staying, aren't you?" And he'll kind of like, he'll put his arm around her and give her a very tight hug. And he'll kiss her on on her cheek. And in Valyrian, because why not, he will say, "I love you, my Sapphire." And he will dismount. He will nod at Sir Garth, who will also dismount. And they'll draw their blades and will kind of like stand in front of them. So if any maniacs come up, you know, looking for easy prey, ideally we'll throw the knights in front of Enzo, but you know, he'll try and
Mara would order
try and
the
kill
other
them.
knight who's on horseback by himself to do the same.
Yeah.
If it seems like everyone else is, she just keeps the one knight with her because she's not losing both of them. If
The
anything.
second he moves in front of the horse, she's knocking an arrow and just waiting.
All right.
I'm not going to be too far away from the horse because I want to jump back on that thing if it gets too big.
Like, it's a gesture, but
It's a
it's not a
gesture.
dumb gesture.
Yeah, I'm not that dumb.
Okay. Well, and that is where we will leave our disaster nobles this week. That's a very juicy little cliffhanger, I think, where everybody is. Awesome.
Mara
Well,
speaks Valyrian, right?
Mara speaks High Valyrian, yeah.
Shitbag.
Oh no, that's it. Mara's found
It was
the
a
thing
whisper. It was
now.
a
Mara's
whisper.
going to be slightly mad that Faye's staying. At some point, there's going to be a conversation of like, go with him, go be happy.
absolutely. But there's no happiness here, I'm afraid. If you expected a happy ending, you're watching the wrong show. What was it? The quote? You haven't been paying attention? That's it. All right. Well, thank you so much, friends. We went quite a bit longer than usual, but let's go around checking with everybody, see how we're doing, and let us know what you're up to as well. If you're up to anything on the internet. Thomas, Mr. Hotflakes.
Yes.
I think Susie and I both thought you were about to fucking Scarpa again.
So it had to come to my mind. It was genuinely a thought in Enzo kind of thing, where he, again, himself is self-preservation over everything, and there are a few factors as to why he hasn't scarpered. Firstly, he genuinely feels bad that he scarpered the first time. He still thinks it was the right decision, but he genuinely feel bad, and he genuinely does love Faye. So I think him doing all those stuff for Faye, and then, as Faye said, he could have just sent a letter. This whole thing of getting back to her and stuff is him trying to say, well, trying to prove to himself that maybe, just maybe, someone might be worth fighting for. Maybe he's not gonna, like, you know, he's still got an escape plan should it happen. But you know, it's it's interesting. Hopefully, he's really hoping that conversation will stop, you know, before an army comes and absolutely bulldozes right through them, you know, and him as a neutral party, hopefully. But I genuinely, I was this far away in the tent part, then telling Sir Garth to pick up Faye and move and just going.
Yeah.
This close from doing it because it was in, and if it was like, and there was also another thing that I was going to do, but I'll save that for later. Like after you know, like the whole thing afterwards, because
Deary
it was
me.
good fun. I've
was.
learned never ever fight a Kingsguard. That's what I learned today.
Nope.
They literally can take an atomic bomb landing on them and still keep fighting.
They are the best in the
They
realm.
are the best of the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
All right. Where can people find you? Are you doing things on the internet?
Am I doing things? I don't think I'm doing things. You can check me out on Twitter at Hotflakes Tom. But I think that's about it, really. I'm not really doing a lot. I go occasionally on Susie's stream here and there, sometimes on Tuesdays or Fridays or whenever she's streaming. She just wants a disembodied voice talking to her, whispering to her as she streams.
And one of the disembodied voice too, don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okie dokie. Thanks so much. And Millie.
Oh, hi.
Finally
Stubborn
out
as ever.
of custody, kind of, maybe?
Yeah, I decided to turn the tables then. Because what's the point of running away if you've got a bargaining chip just waiting there to be had? You know, we didn't know how that battle was going to go, and she needs saving because he wants her to survive. So if he's dead, then we figure that out. And if he's alive, then we get to go, ta-da, saved your wife again, love me forever, I'm awesome. It's a win-win. That was rough, though, the moment of being asked to run. I'm wondering whether she would, but Faye's got too much weird shit tied up in Samuel and honoring the wishes of dead people. It's plus it was the smart move. It was the smart move.
Yeah, okay. You folks constantly surprise me.
Well, you know, she's useful. She's very useful.
Yeah.
Grateful people are particularly useful.
It's very true.
I promise I'm not a sociopath.
Well, when you're not being a sociopath, what are you doing? Where are you?
I'm all over the place at the moment. Everything's a bit choppy changey. But I think Sunday this week I'm playing Wild IP with Jay. I think we're gonna be playing the Alabasters, but we might not. We've rolled up some new Crim characters and we're having a bit too much fun just flirting with the entire crossing, so we'll see. Monday is drifting over on the Wandering Inn, doing sci-fi shenanigans, and Tuesday is Phasmo or whatever with Susie and Tom. And I think that's it at the moment because our vampire show finished, which I'm in mourning about, which is why I rolled up my Crim character, because she's basically my vampire character but a cowboy.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right. And V, let's go to you. How are you now that you're maybe sticking around, maybe running? Who knows?
Yeah, that was it's been a long time since a battle episode has like had me that afraid all the way through for every possible reason. Because I'm not usually in them. I'm usually just watching them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Mara's trying to do what Samuel asked her to do. She's trying really hard, but she's only going to do as much as she has to. Nowhere in that letter did it say that she couldn't watch to wait to see the outcome before running.
It's true.
You need fine print, Samuel. You need to...
Yeah, you got to draft better letters.
Technically, Faye did run, just not very far.
Yeah, no, that's true. We left the camp. That counts. Yeah, like Mara will probably keep to what's in there, but she needs to, before she does the rest of that, she needs to be sure that Samuel isn't coming back.
Well, otherwise that's just fucking awkward.
Yeah.
Just on a hill getting railed by soldiers. Oh, you're alive. Shit.
This is exactly what it looks like, but you asked me to do it, remember? Yeah, I am afraid. I love this weird accord that Faye and Mara only seem to have in moments of potential death. Like, otherwise, just completely nothing between them. But in moments of death, Faye is like, well, I guess I'm bound by giving a shit about Samuel to make sure you don't die because he'll be sad. And Mara's the same, like, well, I can't let anything happen to you because he's going to be sad. And I don't want to deal with that either. So it's like, I guess we both just have to stick together so Samuel doesn't have to be sad.
Bargaining chips.
Although Mara might have some other ideas about Faye after hearing Enzo. Because I don't think Enzo knows that Mara speaks High Valyrian. Yeah, this might be the point where they finally have the conversation when Mara's like, okay, so you're just going to have to be selfish and deal with it.
What Am does not compute.
This man loves you. He has a boat. Run away with him. Essos is beautiful. Don't stay here. But yeah, no, this was a great session. So I'm afraid.
Good.
Be afraid.
When you're not being afraid, where are you? What are you up to?
You can find me over on Twitter at Tabletop Horde. I say that I'm going to go back to streaming and that will happen eventually. So I have a Twitch. If you want to play D&D with me, I have seats open on a private Ravenloft campaign right now. If you want to message me on Twitter or Discord or any of the other places you find me, if you're interested in me making you afraid instead of you seeing me afraid on this show in Ravenloft with horrible, gribbly things. I think that's about it.
Okay, lovely. And finally, Don. Well done.
Yeah, I have 2 hit points remaining, and I can't take any more injuries, and I can't take any more wounds.
You literally just pipped him to the post there. He had 1 hit point. He could take 1 more wound and he would die. And he took all the injuries that he could.
Yeah. I rolled like that final roll because I only got to keep 3 dice, and I was with my injuries. It was -4, which from what I would normally roll. I rolled 3 6s. Like, I think that's the only way, like rolling 3 6s. I think that's the only way that I was able to like get over on him in the end.
Yeah, I think you're right. His combat defense with his shield was like a 10, I think.
Yeah.
Even in his armor.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was intense. I love that he didn't catch up to Baelor in time. I thought that was awesome. And I love the fight versus the Kingsguard, and all of the descriptions of the battles and the way the armies are moving were super cool. And Samuel went 0-3 for letter requests, people doing at least the spirit of what he was asking, if not the full thing, and didn't get Baelor. So this wasn't exactly a win for him, but he did disobey Harris's order. So the House Tarley forces could hold on to their good position, because that's like the only thing they've got right now, is their position at the top of that hill using that. So I'm interested to see how like the fallout, how the rest of the battle plays out. What's the fallout of that? However it plays out, I love it. I'm very excited. I loved watching the other scenes. I loved seeing Enzo return and get to reconnect with Faye and Mara too. I thought that was awesome. I love the final visual image of them like all together, swords drawn. There's only like 5 of them, bow drawn and knocked, ready to protect themselves against an army if an army comes their way potentially. I thought that was really, really cool. So I love the session. I can't wait to see what comes of it. I know we don't have much left, so
we don't. I'm going to do maybe a couple sessions to kind of wrap things up with characters, particularly in any scenes that you want, any last final dramatic questions you want to answer, and then that's it.
Watching the two of you do battle stuff is just so fucking cool.
Thanks.
Masters.
It was intense.
Yeah, well, it feels so kind of numbery as well a lot of the time. But
it doesn't feel that way watching it though. It's like watching an episode. So don't worry about that.
That is the downside of this. There are so many modifiers and so many things that it does take at least a good 10 to 20 seconds to figure out what the hell is going on. It's just a bit too kind. That's the only downside of it. But because you two were able to carry it so well with the descriptions and stuff, you very rarely notice it unless you were really kind of looking. But yeah, it's a bit crunchy, isn't it?
A little bit. Yeah.
It's a lot of math, yeah.
Yeah.
Big respect for those moments where you decided not to use every single bonus that you had, though, just because it makes it a more interesting fight. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tom.
So Don, like, I know you're on a little bit of a break with the Patreon games at the moment, but where else can we find you, and like, what are you up to, and when's that coming back and stuff?
So I've got I'm running a couple of catch-up games this month, but I'm not running anywhere near how many games I usually run. So, all of my games will be back in May. Right now I have one seat open for a game in May. You can check me out on social media if you want. But other than that, this month I just finished 100 my writing for 100 to Oni with this huge Mass Effect inspired D&D 5th edition book for Dark Matter. That's one of my favorite things I've ever written. So I'm really excited. Like, I know, of course, like I finished my stuff, but there's editors and layout and art. There's a lot of stuff that still has to be finished before it'll come out, but I'm really excited for that. So this month I am doing the same. I'm finishing a Fallout book that has yet to been revealed to the world, but I'm excited about that. It's a really cool team and it's a really cool story. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm writing that right now, and then I'll finish that here soon. And then I will start a new thing that I can't talk about just yet, but I'm really, really excited about it. It's a very, very cool project that I'll be working on. So you can find me on social media if you want. But other than that, I'll be here next week.
Awesome. Yeah, you will. All right. Thanks so much. And as for us, you can find us around the internet at Follow Black Cats. As well as streaming, we write and publish tabletop role-playing games predominantly, and we did the Spy game, which is just behind me here. We play that in an actual play campaign on Wednesdays from 7 p.m. UK time, and we're well into our what we've called Hex Crawl is the actual title, and it is a kind of a surveillance capitalist kind of take on the world where tech and following people around is everywhere, and unfortunately it's all controlled by a global conspiracy. So if you like the sound of that, you like kind of 5e but with spies, then check that out. If not, then come back around here on Thursdays as usual, where we will be wrapping up our After the Fire the campaign in like a couple of weeks, once we've resolved any last minute character things based off of the final events of this battle and of the campaign as a whole. This is the bit where we have to raid somebody, right? Probably. I had things prepared. Jay's playing a thing. Let's just go raid Jay, I guess. We have to.
Welcome to the obsession.
Yeah. He's playing a cowboy. I don't know which cowboy.
It'll be Obi.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's playing his lawman tonight.
There we go. We'll go say hi from us. Let him know that Millie did not die. And we'll be back next week. Thanks, everyone. Till then, take care.